Shalom, brothers and sisters throughout the earth. I'm Elder Rick Harshaw of the Gathering of Christ Church, here along with Elder Lawyer with your Sabbath lesson. Now, last week I said that I would possibly go into a lesson. I would go into a lesson concerning portals or the gates of the earth. One moment. And on top of that, the portals is where the angels or the celestial enter in and out of the earth. I was thinking about going into that particular lesson today. But there's more important, what you would call urgent needs, spiritual needs amongst our people today, outside of understanding the portals of the angels. Because we all know the angels come in and out of the earth. How they come in and out of the earth can be discussed at another time, but not today. Also, there was a lesson, a prepared lesson. Where is it here? Let's get it. Yeah. There's a prepared lesson, truth with persecutions. Are you ready? Now, this particular lesson, I'm going to talk about next Sabbath, what we have prepared today. I'll probably touch on it a little bit today, but I'll finish it up next week because there's more urgent scenarios going on in the earth that we must discuss. And what's that? I'll title this. I've been thinking all morning on how to title this, and I pray that the Most High give full clarity during this lesson today, and for you and for all of us, and a greater perspective towards the kingdom of heaven. I figured that I'm going to title this, and it just came to me, An Agreement with Hell. An agreement with hell. And the reason why I believe that it's a good title is there's many of us in this earth who are in agreement with hell and don't realize what that means. What's the consequences for that agreement? And without understanding that hell after this is more than anyone could bear. As a matter, think about the worst experience you can have on earth. It's in no comparison to what comes afterwards. And we are in agreement with it. I woke up this morning and I was thinking, I was praying, I was meditating on things, and it's like, it seems as if the world, all of us, are on autopilot. We just go on about our lives. It's like our actions have been fixed from day to day. It's like an autopilot with no purpose. Not realizing we're in a plane on a trajectory directly to hell.
I will reclaim.
And I'm like, you know what? I need to talk about this agreement. We have an agreement with hell, folks. And I wanted to discuss this today. And we wonder why there's so much confusion. We go to the Lord, we try to find some resolve to why we can't agree in relationships, husband or wife, or if someone is, courting a person, boyfriend or girlfriend, while everyone is at everybody else's neck, people who we know, we care about, how none of the family is in agreement. And I thought about it. And I'm like, okay, let's look at it from the Lord's perspective. We've been taught to be so selfish and internalize everything, right? And base everything off of how we personally feel. Let's deal with it from an outside perspective. If the Most High God, all power, or higher, created everything we see and gave us everything, life, breath, family, children, nourishment, blessings. If he have the power to give us all that and we're not in agreement with him, how would he have you live a life in which you are in agreement with everyone else? We're not in agreement with him, but we expect to have a peaceful relationship with those amongst us. I'm like, we need a spiritual breakthrough. We have to understand this agreement we're on. Because if we're not on an agreement with him, if we're not in his agreement, his covenant, the other agreement is more than any of us can bear. There's no peace in our lives. We fight within our own minds. We lash out at other people. Everyone else is wrong. It can't be me. It must be someone else. All of this thinking, this life without peace, is a part of an agreement with hell, folks. And I would like to discuss it today. And usually when we go into this, I'm trying to quantify this before I go into the scriptures, brothers and sisters. Usually when we tend to look into this, it's okay. Immediately our thoughts are, who's to blame? Is it the man's fault? Is it the woman's fault? Right? Well, I would be a better man if she did this. I would be a better woman if he did this. But the whole time while we're going through these disagreements, the next generation is getting utterly decimated. And resolving both disagreements in the house as normal. Because we are in an agreement with hell. It's not like, well, I'm going through this because I'm trying to figure things out. No, that's how we justify our actions. We're not trying to figure something out. We're doing what we want to do. And that's an agreement. We're not trying to figure anything else. Because actually what we're doing in the earth on a daily basis is our agreement. Let's talk about it. An agreement with hell. Elder Lawyer, let's go to Isaiah 28 and 14.
Isaiah chapter 28, verse 14. Wherefore hear the word of the Most High Ahiah, ye scornful men, that rule this people which is in Jerusalem.
Which rule this people which are in Jerusalem. It's speaking of the rulers over Israel, the governors, the priests, the men. It's not no blame, it's what it is. We were responsible for upholding God's law and righteousness with our people. Read.
Verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death.
Hold up. What's a covenant? A covenant is an agreement. Now, did they just come out and start speaking and say, you know what, I just made a covenant with death? No. The Most High is seeing their actions opposed to what they know is right. That's an agreement. When we do something wrong, we're making an agreement and a pact with something or someone outside of the Most High. They didn't wake up one morning and say, well, you know what? Let me make an agreement with death and hell. Their actions is showing the agreement. Read.
Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are
And with hell. Now, there's many out there who deal with the perspective, what you would call the metaphorical or parable perspective, that hell is strictly a condition on earth.
Hell and heaven, how heaven and hell are conditions on earth and not underground. And there is no such thing as a hell underneath the earth with a man with a pitchfork and horns. There's no such thing as burning in fire for forever and ever eternity. That's a lie according to the Christian church. The Christian church is full of lies, and there's never been hell. Heaven and hell is going to be right here on earth. The white man right now, he is in heaven. You understand? And guess who's in hell? You blacks and Hispanics, you in hell. You understand? We living in hell right now. You understand? The Lord put us here. Turn it down a little bit. The Lord put us in hell because we sinned against him. So we sin against the Lord, we get put in hell. But when we turn back to serving the Lord, then we will be in heaven. And heaven's going to be right here on earth. When this kingdom fall and our kingdom come to life, you understand? Under the Most High Christ, you understand?
Now, and even for those that are dealing with that perspective, just say if that's true. Just say if what they're claiming is true. Well, your actions in agreement will lead to hell on earth. But at the end of this, when your spirit leaves, that particular narrative as far as hell comes into full fruition. It comes into full existence. All the hell you've been experiencing on earth, you're now abiding in that. Once we shed this flesh. So the fearfulness and the darkness we feel when we see something, when we know we did something wrong. The darkness and the guilt and all that we internalize when we know something isn't right. We know we're not right. Give me the bag.
paid with the sins of man, and yours, Dante, shall be the bedrock of my return. And all that is good shall be gone from the universe forever.
Imagine being in that state of consciousness after this, with no resolve, with no opportunity to repent. We're going to go there a little later. But for those who just say, well, it's a condition on earth, we'll let them stay with that. But there's a higher understanding, because at the end of this is a judgment which continues afterwards. That's the hell altogether. That's the hell of all hells. So we experience hell in our life, which is a curse, but we are in agreement with it through our actions. Read.
We have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement.
Come on.
With the overflowing scourge, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge.
Hey, hold up, it's letting you know how this covenant and agreement works. We make lies our refuge. Those lies can be what? They can be changed out as words like, or it can be shown as excuses. Well, I'm like this because of that. I'm not normally this way. Okay. Because this happened to me, I made an agreement with death. I'm going to be evil and wicked, and I'm going to sin because of this. We make lies our refuge. We make excuses. That's part of the agreement. The excuses allow us to do what? Not take any responsibility, because there's a reason for the agreement. I wouldn't be doing this, and I wouldn't be doing that if you didn't do this to me, or if I didn't feel this way, or if I didn't feel lonely, or whatever the case is. We use lies to do what? As a refuge. To cover ourselves, to say, well, I have an excuse for this agreement with hell I've made. Not realizing that what's coming after this is too much for any of us to bear. You're going to realize what we did in this earth against the Most High wasn't worth it. Or even the few satisfactions we've received during this time in the flesh, we're going to realize it wasn't worth it. I'm going to go full into this agreement of hell, folks. And it's not worth it, because we go at each other, never have the life we should have while in this agreement, then suffer in hell afterwards. It's a lose-lose for us. We're losing while living, and then we'll lose after this too.
Welcome to the underworld.
What is all this?
A scrap heap of human misery. Lost hopes and dreams. Wishes that never came true. All lives end in suffering and tragedy.
It's a lose-lose. And I'm saying this, and I'm gonna, and it's time for all of us to apply this. Like, listen, no, even if someone, no matter what someone may do or say or whatever against me, or do something against me, I'm not gonna go dark and evil, and I'm not gonna change my commitment and agreement with the Most High because of these people. I don't care how close they are. I don't care how much I care for them. I'm not going to make an agreement with death and hell because they have. I'm not going to let them turn me into something I'm not. I'm going to stay that innocent child of the Most High, irregardless of this world. Because the whole world has made this agreement, folks. And there's only one way out of that agreement. We as a nation made an agreement with death and hell, folks. It started with our leadership. And it continues with our leadership. And I'm not talking about the political leadership. I'm talking about the men of the Most High. The Most High always point to who he gave the agreement with first. Same thing with Adam. He gave the agreement with Adam. And Adam said, well, the wife you gave me introduced the tree of good and evil to me. He's like, well, I gave it to you though. You will lose your dominion, Adam, because I told you not to touch it. So it always comes down, when we look at the state of our wives, our women, our children, our family, it's easy to point to the residual effect, hell in full effect, and look at it and say, well, look at this and look at this and laugh at this and laugh at that. But it started with the priests of the Most High, the men of the Most High. That's not blaming, it's the truth. Read.
We have made lies our refuge.
We've made lies our refuge.
And under falsehood have we hid ourselves.
And under falsehood have we hid ourselves. And that can be on so many levels. Okay? Through whatever go on, we have men and women dealing with serious insecurities. And through those insecurities, do things, put up a wall, do things to themselves to feel better in order to be accepted. All these things we've created for ourselves, when we know that's not us. We even become a lie to ourselves. Make lies our refuge. Instead of saying, you know what? This whole thing is broke. It's not right. I'm not playing the game. I'm going to make this agreement with the Most High. I'm tired of all this in autopilot, trying to, get this world to understand me and all these other things. This world is done. I'm tired of getting beat down and how much I'm a nice person, but always being abused and taken advantage of and all these things. But Satan has that out there so that we can actually turn dark and make the agreement. Be like, no, I'm not dealing with none of that. I don't want no acceptance from this world. I don't care what people think. None of that. I'm making an agreement with the Most High. Because this world will never accept me. I'll always have to jump through hoops. We jump through more hoops to be accepted in this world, folks, than to be accepted with the Most High. We do things so that our man can, and that's good. Our man can accept and love us better, and we'll do extra things, just to do extra things to be appealing to her husband and man and all that, and man to do certain things to be accepted by women, and none of us are doing nothing for the Most High. We go through all these hurdles to be accepted in the world with this agreement with death, and they're not willing to do a tenth of that to please the Most High. And that's what we should be jumping through hoops for. First. It's never enough in this world. There's no pleasing any. This world is death and hell. There's no pleasing, no matter how good you are and what you do. There's just no pleasing this world. You'll destroy yourself attempting to be accepted, folks. Read on.
Verse 16.
Yes.
Therefore thus saith the Most High Ahijah.
Come on.
Behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste.
And he that believeth shall not make haste. So he says, you know what? There will only be one answer to this. I'm going to lay within Zion a chief cornerstone, a cornerstone. And he that believeth shall not make haste. You don't have to rush and all that. If you believe in the Most High, immediately you can get that agreement with him through that example, who is his son Yeshua, who was sent. I'm going to show you one way back to this agreement. Get on board. Everything else is an agreement with hell. Everything else is the agreement. Read.
Verse 17. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet. And the hell shall sweep away the refuge of lies.
And the hell shall sweep away the refuge of lies. The coverings and the lies and the excuses. Through Christ, we can lay all that away. And you know what? Usually, you all know I've been in this for a long time. And when I would teach this scripture on the street as an Israelite, any place that it says lies and sweep away the lies, we would automatically relate that to tearing down the lies of the white man. That was the incorrect way of dealing with these scriptures. Because it was about our correction. It's about the agreement that the Israelite men made with death and hell. We were supposed to internalize this for us and say, no, it's about sweeping away the lies that's in us. The lies we've been taught through the generational curses. What we've seen as an example of family, thinking it was family when it was generational curses. And we've continued this perpetual lie, which is a curse, and not even realize that it's a curse. We were supposed to internalize these precepts and say, you know what? It's talking about sweeping away the lies or taking down the lies that's in us. Okay? We have made an agreement with death and hell, and trust and oppression and stay thereon. We've made oppression, dirtiness, and evil the norm to the point where, oh no, that's just us. We've accepted being the cursed people and sensationalize it. So Christ is talking about, the Most High through Christ, Yeshua, is talking about us sweeping the lies that's within us, the lies we've been taught before we could walk. Looking at the law, comparing ourselves to it and say, you know what? I've been living a lie. I've been in an agreement with hell the whole time. Okay? Read.
The hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the water shall overflow the hiding place.
The hiding places, which is the secrets of man. when you break down these precepts. It's not talking about I'm tearing down Christianity, I'm tearing down Islam. That's the lowest level. The Most High want us tore down as individuals. He wants to tear down ourselves. We don't have to prove no more that Christian is pagan and Islam. We done went through that thing. We've been over 2 decades in proving they don't even deny that who they are anymore. Okay? But these scriptures are talking about us, folks. We have made an agreement and continue as adults to make agreements with death and hell, folks. Now let's go to Christ real quick in the book of Matthew that you had real quick.
Yes, sir. Book of Matthew, chapter 16, I'll start in verse number 13. In fact, verse number 17.
Yeah.
And Yeshua answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto you, or I say unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church.
So out of all of Israel, the Most High, through Christ, chose the 12 disciples and Peter to bind on earth the proper way. The proper tools to battle against death and hell. Okay? Now the whole world outside of Christ and his ministry is in that agreement with death and hell. So now Christ is given those keys on how to battle and to overcome that agreement our priests made in the Old Testament. Okay? He's now given us the tools. Read.
Verse 18. And I say unto thee that thou art Simon, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Now, mind you, go to the location where they are there.
Verse 13. And when Yeshua came unto the coast of Caesarea Philippi,
Yeah.
he asked his disciples, saying,
When he came to the coast of Philippi, Caesarea, brothers and sisters, this geographical location is important. Why? Because this geography is the actual coast in Syria right now to the Mount Hermon, where the fallen gods or the angels came down before the flood and taught mankind wickedness and evil. On a serious level, gave mankind technology that would eventually destroy man. So this geography is deep in itself, that Christ is saying to Peter, in this location where they came down to teach mankind evil, I'm going to give you the remedy and tools to battle against those dark forces that came down on this mount. The gates of hell are here. This is where the agreement of hell began. When those angels came down and dealt with women and brought forth Nephilim in the Old Testament, giants. and began to teach mankind all types of evil things and warfare and hatred. That was the beginning of destroying the original family of God. All types of evil came from that. Even demons and evil spirits came from those children that died from these hybrids. And Christ is telling Peter, I'm going to give you the tools to battle them. I'm going to give you the keys to battle them. Read.
Jumping down to verse number 18.
Yeah.
And I say also unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it.
And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. It's speaking of the information that comes from Mount Hermon. The evil, satanic wickedness that was created through that evil. And brothers and sisters, through that, we have been in a perpetual war with the serpent seed. Okay? With no remedy. Without any tools to be able to overcome what they've done to our family, Israel. What they've done to our foreparents, even before the flood, what they were doing. Christ finally came to give us the keys to make a new agreement that would stand with the Creator. Okay? Now, when he talks about the gates of hell, let me give you an example of what we're up against.
So what you're seeing here, this is the cave of Pan, the Greek god, Pan flute, the goat legs and all that. And again, this was what was called, back in Jesus' day, the gates of hell. Because we don't get it here. You can kind of see the ruins here of the temple that was built on it. And you can see, again, some of those ruins back there. And then this entrance here, where there's a spring, you can see the water in there. That's a spring. And again, what you'd see here is this was called the gates of hell. So think about Matthew 16 when Jesus said the gates of hell will not prevail against my kingdom. What he's getting after here is this is a place where, again, was the entrance to the city of hell and to the government of hell. And so he says no, when he's standing in Caesarea Philippi talking to his disciples about victory over Satan, he's looking at this, and that picture would have been big in their minds.
And what I'm going into affects us in our daily lives, folks. Now, we all know, according to the Bible, the book of Jude, 2 Peter 2 and 4, that the angels that came down at the gates of hell, Mount Hermon, okay, we know that those angels, 200 of them, were bound in hell. Physically bound. A matter of fact, Azazel is whom the Egyptians call the god Osiris in what they call Egyptian mythology, when it's not mythology at all. Osiris is Azazel, the bound angel, who's right now bound under the Great Pyramid Sphinx. Okay? But the angels were bound. But their children would continue in the earth, even after the flood. Now check out what these children, which is evil spirits or demons, look at what they do in the earth and tell me it's not affecting us right now as a people. And guess what? And they don't care what race you are. Chiefly we're talking about Israelites because it's the children of Israel that we are the people that were made to correct the earth. Okay? To bring forth the law. The law of Moses wasn't just so that we can be in our little hub being lawful one amongst each other. This law was supposed to go out throughout the whole earth to protect the whole earth and to help the people and the other nations. And see, and that's why our punishment is so severe. Why? Because we were responsible for not only being lawful amongst us, but making sure the earth was lawful. That's why our curse and what we're suffering is so severe. The whole earth done going to hell because we were disobedient. So now under a curse, under servitude, our people are suffering, serious spiritual damage. Why? Because the powers that be know that we're at the end of time and that a certain number of our people must come back to the Most High. And when that happens, everything changes. Christ has given the command to come here and to make all things perfect, right, set us up righteously. So the battle at the very end is concentrated on us to keep us at a certain state. So let's keep them fighting amongst each other. Let's make sure family is not family. Let's destroy their children and generation, because if we allow to happen what's going on, these people will become our rulers. Okay? So Satan, if you can only see on the outside of our realm to see the forces that are concentrated just to come into your house, to follow your children.
do show up, it's a sure sign that carnage and bloodshed are not far behind.
Morning.
They don't cause it, they feed on it.
Menu? This is Dora. Leave a message.
Skirt, yeah, it's me. I just got back. Are you all right? I haven't heard from you so long. I want to know if you're all right. But yeah, this is a great call, Uncle Lab. You're absolutely right. Yeah, listen, I got a guy. I'm gonna call him and I got a bunch of photographs. He will publish those photographs, but I need you to come with me. Can you just call me back? Call me back. Oh. Oh. Yeah.
The more Bodaks that show up, the bigger the eventual feast. They're attracted to evil like bees to flowers. They know when death is coming and want to watch. They don't show up for any ordinary death. They want extreme, operatic violence and terror.
If you could only see on the outside of it, it would scare you out of here, folks. They've concentrated these spirits on us, understanding that overall, brothers and sisters, we are the answer. If we are in agreement with the Most High. So they keep us battling and fighting against each other, folks. And a lot of us don't even realize that we're in a battle.
Yeah. Hey, can you turn your music down, please? Because I'm having a really hard time.
Whatever. Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, I'll just turn it right down.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Thank you.
So and you know, and to their credit, okay, they have hidden their things perfectly. So if our people knew what we were up against, maybe that would be, you know, a help towards making the true agreement. And that's why we are here to say, listen, these spirits come in and have us battle each other so that we can blame each other and fault each other. Okay? And then if we're so concentrated on that, we're not building towards the kingdom of heaven, family, children, and otherwise. And a matter of fact, we'll just break up, hate each other, and make an agreement with Satan because we don't have the knowledge of that force that came in. We're here to give you that. Right? So let's go into the book of Enoch, right? To show you the origin of demonology, the origin of the spirits that attack us daily to force us or to guide us into that agreement with death and hell. Read.
The book of Enoch, chapter 15, verse 1. And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice.
Hold up, before you go there, let me say this. Okay. And for those who don't believe in Christ or the anointed, who don't believe that Christ is the chief cornerstone that was prophesied in the Old Testament, right? Who hate Christ, who don't believe in Christ, this is not for you anyway. You are dead. You're skull and bone. You're in the agreement, and there's no way out because there's only one way out. You've agreed with death and hell already because you rejected the chief cornerstone. So if you're looking at this and you hate Christ and hate the Old Testament and New Testament and you only deal with the Old Testament, or you're an atheist, you might as well shut this off. Go on and live your life and get whatever you can get out of this, okay? Because at the end of all of this, the hell that you will experience is more than you could have ever bared. You're going to know he was real. You're going to know he's real when you're before him. Okay? So this ain't no thing. This ain't no lesson a day in trying to convince somebody whether or not Christ is real. If you don't believe in him, or you have a problem with belief, then enjoy your world. Okay? Enjoy your world. How's your world working out for you? So go on about your way. If you are a Muslim and all that, if you're a Muslim, go about your way. If you're an atheist, if you are a New Ager who believe that I'm just a good person and all that, you will burn in hell.
A panel has been discussing the spirituality and the forces of God, but I also believe that there are two forces that are here with us. That we do have our God that we can depend on, but there's also a power of darkness that we do need to be aware of. And that's where the choices begin.
Do you believe that you can choose between one or the other?
Most absolute, definitely.
Yeah.
Now,
Marianne Williamson says in her book, Return to Love, that we're always walking in the direction of one or the other, that all of your actions in life, either you're moving toward the darkness or you're moving toward the light.
That's right.
She calls it fear and love. There's this wonderful book called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn, which is, anyway, it's a gorilla talking, but anyway, it talks about, one of the points it brings out is one of the mistakes that human beings make is believing that there is only one way to live, that we don't accept that there are diverse ways of being in the world, that there are millions of ways to be a human being, and many ways, but many paths to what you call God. And her path might be something else, and when she gets there, she might call it the light. But her loving and her kindness and her generosity brings her, if it brings her to the same point that it brings you, it doesn't matter whether she called it God along the way or not.
And I guess the danger that could be on that, I mean, it sounds great on the onset, but if you really look at both sides,
there couldn't possibly be just one way. What about Jesus? What about Jesus?
And you say there isn't only one way. There is one way and only one way, and that is through Jesus.
There couldn't possibly be with the millions of people in the world. There couldn't possibly be.
Because you say, you intellectualize it and say there isn't. If you don't believe that, you're all buying into the lie.
But that means you're right. Do you think that if you are somewhere on the planet, if you're somewhere on the planet and you never hear the name of Jesus, you never hear the name of Jesus, but yet you live with a loving heart, you lived as Jesus would have had you to live, you lived for the same purpose that Jesus came to the planet to teach us all, but you are in some remote part of the earth and you never heard the name of Jesus. You cannot get to heaven, you think?
And that is covered in the scriptures, too. People are talked about
that. God knows the heart.
Does God care about your heart, or God care about if you call his son Jesus?
Well, you know, Oprah, Jesus cannot come back until that gospel is preached in the four corners of this earth. So, figure it out.
Okay, I can't get into a religious argument with you.
It's not.
Okay. Of course you don't believe it now, but you will. You will know it's a reality. Okay. Every time I see a volcano erupt, I know where the smoke, the sulfur, the fire is coming from. Do you? Okay. The mountains, those mountains are exhaust for hell. They're signs for mankind on earth to know that hell is real. Let's go.
The book of Enoch, chapter 15, verse 1. And he answered and said to me, and I heard his voice, Fear not, Enoch, thou righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Approach hither and hear my voice, and go say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent thee to intercede for them, you should intercede for men, and not men for you. Wherefore have ye left the high, holy, and eternal heaven, and lain with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and taken to yourselves wives, and done like the children of earth, and begotten giants as your sons. And though you were holy, spiritual, living the eternal life, you have defiled yourselves with the blood of women, and have begotten children with the blood of flesh. And as the children of men have lusted after flesh and blood, as those also who die and perish. Therefore have I given them wives also, that they might impregnate them, and beget children by them, that thus nothing might be wanting to them on earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life, and immortal for all generations of the world. And therefore I have not appointed wives for you. For as for the spiritual ones of the heaven, in heaven is their dwelling. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh.
Now the giants which are produced from what?
The spirits and flesh.
The spirits and flesh. These are the giants written of in Genesis, the 6th chapter. There were giants in those days. Why? The sons of God came down and dealt with the daughters of men.
Giants are found in the myths and legends of many different cultures. Their appearance rarely differs much from an ordinary human. For example, the Cyclops in the Odyssey, written by Homer, besides being a giant, was generally human-looking, except for that one big eye in the center of his forehead. The Bible mentions in passing a divine origin for ancient giants, and in Scandinavian legends, giants actually confront the gods. Quote, "At that time there were giants on the earth, since the sons of God began to enter the daughters of men, and began to give birth to them. They are strong, anciently glorious people." End quote. Why did people on different continents and in such disparate civilizations have such similar stories about giants? Is it possible that these are remnants of memories of certain ancient civilizations? A medieval Danish historian, wonderfully named Saxo Grammaticus, assumed that the giants really existed, else how to explain the giant-sized buildings and structures of antiquity? Many written sources of those years do speak of such things. For example, in the Old English poem Seafarer, a tale is told of enormous stone walls supposedly built by giants. There is also mention of giant beings in a number of historical documents. Herodotus writes of the Spartans acquiring the bones of the warrior Orestes to help with a military campaign. The skeleton is noted to have had a height of 7 cubits. That's 11.5 feet or 3.5 meters in modern terms. The ancient Greek scholar Pausanias described how a skeleton of a man of about 18 feet or 5.5 meters tall was found on the bottom of a river. Josephus Flavius, a Roman historian, transcribed the testimonies of eyewitnesses who saw live giants themselves. These observers reported that the giants' faces were different from ordinary human faces, and that the towering creatures possessed thundering voices. A number of 13-foot-tall skeletons, that's 4 meters for you metric aficionados, were excavated in the Caucasus Mountains during the 20th century. The presence of such a large number of skeletal remains allowed scientists to assume that the giants moved here in search of salvation after some global catastrophe. Here they found their final shelter and resting place. In one very old book entitled History and Antiquity, now stored at the Oxford University Library, there is an account of the discovery in the Middle Ages of a giant skeleton in Cumberland. Quote, "The giant is buried in the ground at a depth of 4 yards and is in full military garb. His sword and battle axe are resting next to him. The length of the skeleton is 4.5 yards, and the teeth of the big man are measured at 6.5 inches long and 2 broad." End quote. Adding to the evidence verifying the existence of giants are numerous gigantic fossilized footprints. For example, an imprint of a human foot 80 centimeters or 2.5 feet in length has been unearthed in Tanzania. A series of handprints was found next to traces of dinosaurs near a village in Turkmenistan. The height of the giant that left them is estimated at about 5 meters, almost 16.5 feet, A human tooth 5 times larger than an ordinary man's tooth was found in Hong Kong in 1935. A 60 centimeter or 2 foot high human skull with 2 rows of teeth was found in Alaska in 1950. And a 50-foot long petrified human skeleton, that's 15 meters, folks, was found in Mongolia in 1999. The sheer plethora of evidence allows us to state unequivocally that giants did indeed once exist. But whether they were a single people who settled all over the earth or belonged to different races, this is a question which scientists have yet to unambiguously answer. But if giants really existed, and not only in myth and legend, then it stands to reason that other traces of their lives should also exist. For example, architectural structures and other such objects. In the opinion of a number of scientists, the numerous megalithic objects that have been discovered all over the earth serve as proof of the prior existence of giants. Even in our time, with modern technology, it is extremely difficult to build such monumental objects. Without some kind of mechanical lifting mechanisms, it seems that it would have been virtually impossible. And yet, they exist. This is the famous Baalbek Terrace located in Lebanon near Beirut. 3 huge stone slabs, each weighing about 800 tons, are embedded in its base. The plates are identical and fit together so seamlessly that one cannot even insert the blade of a knife between them. Researchers calculated that to install just one such stone block, 21 meters wide and 54 meters long, would require the simultaneous effort of at least 35,000 people. Who, how, and why did they do it? Handwritten Arabic treatises say that the structure was built as a temple of Jupiter, and that the giant beings built it on the orders of King Nimrod just after the flood. The ancient city of Teotihuacan, the City of Gods, is located 31 miles from Mexico City and is an entire complex of huge stone blocks. According to the most common historical version of events, the city was built by giants to turn people into gods. Its layout resembles a model of the solar system. From the central temple, which embodies the sun, regarding objects that giants might have built, scholars also include the Egyptian Sphinx, the English Stonehenge, the stone figures of Easter Island, and the Tibetan City of the Gods. Not only are these structures themselves amazing, but also their geometrical connection with each other. For example, a line drawn from the Tibetan City of Gods to the Egyptian Sphinx, if continued, leads directly to Easter Island. And another line from the City of Gods through the Mexican pyramids also goes to Easter Island. These 2 lines delineate 1/4 of the Earth's surface, and a line drawn from the City of the Gods to Stonehenge divides this quarter exactly in half. And what about modern people who are giants? One view is that the life and then disappearance of these giants is related to some cataclysm. After the disaster, the size of the giants gradually decreased. The Asuras, inhabitants of the legendary continent of Lemuria, reached a height of 50 meters or 160 feet. As a result of the catastrophe, the continent divided, and the once united race of giants were now isolated from each other. The successors of the Asuras were 18 meters tall, that's about 60 feet, and their successors 6 meters or about 20 feet tall. As a result of these new environmental conditions in the world, the giants in many areas died out. But in some areas they managed to survive. Of course, such a theory runs counter to the teachings of Darwin, but it is this theory that most plausibly explains the existence of the giants. What do you think?
In the oral tradition of many tribes, I've yet to come across a tribal member from a tribe that does not have stories of giants roaming the land. And the way, as my father told me, and as it was told to him by his father, my grandfather, and passed down, the star people came from the 7 sisters. The 7 sisters being what we call the constellation of the Pleiades. The 7 sisters and also the warrior's belt, which we know today as Orion. So from the belt of Orion, from that belt and from the 7 sisters is where these star people came from. And the star people would come, they made themselves out to be gods because they had power, they had big medicine, like our people say. They were able to do great feats that the people were just astonished by. And so they took them to be gods because that's what they presented themselves to be. In that manner is how they then went and took the women from the different tribes. And from there is where the giant tribes were birthed from. The women did not survive the births of these giant beings. But as these giants continue to procreate and continue to spread across the land, there's many stories of the people and the tribes fighting against them. Sometimes, with good results, sometimes with bad results, until eventually there was a culmination of the flood that came and destroyed the giants off the land. We still have some stories of giants after the flood. Ishtipapa, which was a giant that lived in Georgia among the Muskogee Creek. Ishtipapa means man-eaters, because these giant beings would just come and take a regular-sized human being and just pick them up and just bite their head off and just drink the blood. Like popping the cap on a bottle, boom, 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 boom. So they received the name Ishtipapa, man-eater. The origin of them is not something that I know of that our oral tradition goes into. Like who created them, how did they begin? We don't have that. All we know is where they came from, and what constellations they came from to our people. And the giant races, they varied in height. They were the ones who built a lot of these ancient mound structures. We simply didn't have the technology to do it. Did regular sized human beings have the time to do it? Yes. And there are copies of mounds that have been made. Just like there's the 3 pyramids in Egypt, 2 of those pyramids are copies of the oldest one. But they could not quite match the engineering, the architecture, the ley lines. They couldn't do it. So yes, there are mounds that native people have built, but they're a far cry from these gigantic mound structures that the giants built. It is good to mention that the stars, the constellations, the astronomy of the ley lines of the constellations, that's something that was taught to us by the star people. It was knowledge that was given to our ancient ancestors. And the belief was that there were certain times during certain seasons where there were portals that would open up into the spirit world. And markedly, the equinoxes were the main times when this would take place. At Okmulgee, Georgia, in Macon, Georgia, modern-day Macon, Georgia, there's the remains of an earth lodge that is perfectly aligned for the summer equinoxes and the spring equinoxes. And so it was believed that when the people would gather there during those times, that those portals would open, those doorways would open, and it would open the lines of communication and also for these spirit beings to come through, and whether it was teach, trade, or even take people with them, they would do that.
Now it's explaining what will happen to them, the children that came from this sin. Read.
The giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth.
This is how demons came to be. No one else out there can explain the origin of demons or demonic possession. You notice we're in a time of what you would call mental health, and they're targeting everything towards mental health right now. Why? Because all the demons have been released, folks, that Revelations was speaking about from the river Euphrates. All the demons that were bound right after the flood have been loosed. So the whole world is going mad because why? They're now being possessed. They are possessed
State of mind, raising excited delirium,
by the children of the devil.
The drug
Demons.
is called Flocka. Some have dubbed it the insanity drug, and it's everywhere.
That's what's going on.
Scariest drug in the world.
More powerful than heroin or cocaine.
Illinois, Ohio, Texas.
Come on.
And on the earth shall be their dwelling.
On the earth shall be their dwelling. So there was no place for them because why? They weren't a part of the original creation. So the Most High said for these children, they'll be in caves, they'll be in deserts, these demons.
For centuries, these mouldering walls have been my gallows. And I'm bound to this cave, condemned by one who turned me. Oh, and I have waited an eternity for a man of your strength, your gifts, your will, a man worthy of the dark and all its powers. For if I am your salvation, you are mine. Drink. You will have a taste of my power. The strength of 100 men, the speed of a falling star, dominion over the night and all its creatures, to see and hear through their senses. Even heal grievous wounds. At what price? Once you drink, your thirst for human blood will be insatiable. For I will be set free. Having granted the darkness a worthy offering, you will become its vessel as I am. A scourge on this earth, destined to destroy everything you hold dear. Your land, your people. Drink. Let the games begin.
Royal Highness Prince Charles, who can trace his ancestry back to Romania's dark and distant past.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, you see. So I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
And if there's cities where people are concentrated, they'll be there in droves. Speaking of demons.
Was it worth it?
Read.
Verse 9.
Or whom the Muslims call jinns.
Run and
the
tell
demons.
Those you will what you will. Tell them there is something loose in their city. Something which feeds on wishes.
You notice how in certain history they say that Muhammad went up into a cave and got revelation because they're in dry places, dark places, wet places. Muhammad got revelation and understanding from a demon, folks. He was in league with one of the children of the fallen ones.
You wish to know what I am? Do you? I am this. The cry of the abandoned child. The winter of the wicked beast. I am the face that stares back at you from the shadowed mirror. The hollowness at the heart of all your hopes, Alexandra. I am despair.
Read.
Verse 9. Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies because they are born from men, and from the holy watchers is their beginning and primal origin.
Come on.
They shall be evil spirits on earth.
Demons.
And evil spirits shall they be called. Verse 10. And as for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of the earth, which are born upon earth, on the earth shall be their dwelling.
Now, the question is, how do you recognize on the surface one who may be possessed with one of the children of Nephilim or demon? There's a way you can just look on the surface and know that people are demon ridden. Number one, see, if you know the law, you can understand this, because the law was written originally to give us the power to battle those spirits that came before the flood. All the things the Most High said don't do is what they would magnify and concentrate against us. You understand? So by sin is the gateway or the doorway for entry. So they must get you to do something first so that they can use your vessel. I'm going to go into that in a moment. But I can easily recognize someone, not judging them or nothing, because I know if they repent, there's a way out. That chief cornerstone. So it's not about judging, but you should be able to identify. Like if you see a person who got tats all over them, tattoos all over them. Okay? They've been taken through by demons. What came into your mind or your consciousness that say, you know what, let me get this today. This ain't enough. Let me get another one. Let me get another one. When I look into the law, it tells you that they have made these particular markings to the dead, to the spiritual realm. That's for those who can see, that's a clear indication of someone who have many demons in them. That's just on one level. What comes out of someone's mouth,
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Pryor.
if it's vulgar,
Due to technical difficulties, we cannot continue.
if it's nasty, filthy language,
However, I'm an NBC.
you're dealing with demons.
And I will be happy to tell you what Mr. Pryor is saying.
Let's not deal with the covering or the excuses to why the demons are there. Because they would rather you deal with the excuses than recognize them and cast it out. All right? So no more coverings and hidings for them. Those are the excuses we make that allow them to fester. When you see someone with a vulgar mouth and vulgarity and nasty, Christ says what? It's not what that goeth in a man that defileth a man. Not a little dirt. That ain't going to hurt a man. Not a little dirt. The disciples were eating with dirty hands. That ain't going to defile the man. It's what cometh out of a man's mouth that defileth him. He was giving us information. The demons are in them. And it comes out with what they say. You can tell. These are chief identifiers for those who are looking for the right indicators, looking for looking for what you would call the telltale information to help a person overcome deep demonic possession. This is how you recognize it. If they don't care about themselves, they cut themselves all the time, and they don't care about themselves, because we know that as a people, we love ourselves. So when we begin to harm ourselves and all that, it's that spirit. It's a demon. When we abuse ourselves by giving ourselves to anyone with no care, just going out and sleeping with other people and all that, that's not you. You're destroying your vessel. You're connecting yourself with other demons. That's another telltale sign. When the Bible says it should be a generation of adulterers, whoremongers. These are telltale signs of those spirits, folks. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Verse 11. And the spirits of the giants afflict.
They afflict.
Oppress.
Oppress.
Destroy.
So when you feel oppressed, afflicted, you feel like someone is trying to come after you and destroy you, we must look beyond just the people they're utilizing. Read.
Attack.
Attack.
Do battle.
Do battle.
And work destruction on the earth.
And work destruction on the earth. Now, some people might ask, well, why would the Most High allow this to happen to us if he loves us and know what we're up against? Good question. I know a lot of you probably have that question. But we made an agreement with them, their fathers, for technology. We wanted to know certain things that would elevate us as gods compared to regular men. We made ourselves idols. Okay? So it was all good at first. To bling. And to be individuals and look different. And have the knowledge of warfare on how to kill a man and how to execute certain fighting skills and all that. Yeah. It made us gods amongst men. With a cost. Women wanted to look better than other women. So the angels came down and adorned certain women like goddesses. He showed them how to put the tinklings on and how to wear a certain dress, how to make certain curves, look a certain type of way, and all that. That was taught to them. And they stood out as women, opposed to every other modest women that were there. But it came with an agreement. See? You made an agreement with hell. It's all good right now. You're getting all the attention. You're getting all the things you wanted as far as world admiration. But you also get the children of the devil too. Okay? It's a package deal.
Number 6. Incubus and succubus. It's hard enough to get a date these days without having to worry about whether your beau will bleed you dry. Literally. The incubus and succubus are two entities cut from the same cloth, a pair of linen demons that seduce men or women while they sleep. The incubus is known for lying with women, while the succubus lies with men, appearing frequently as seductive beings to either drain them of their life force or, depending on the lore, procreate. The earliest mention of the incubus dates back to 2400 BC on the Sumerian king list, where Gilgamesh's father is listed as Lilu, or a demon similar to an incubus, and the duo have roots in Christian folklore.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
You could basically wipe the mind slate free, create a new personality, essentially an alias that a person wouldn't realize that they have. That can be.
And you did nothing. You did nothing. Now, sink into the floor. Wait. Sink.
I feel nervous, a little bit overwhelmed. I feel a little shaky. Oh no, I don't know what's wrong with me. No, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. You're gonna get it. It's been to be honest, I really can't complain. Yeah, I was kind of, I was a little down. I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again. With another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond.
Many years ago, I named my alter ego Sasha, and it's something that stuck.
Sasha is my alter ego.
I feel like Sasha is a big treat for my fans. It's definitely exciting.
Sasha is my alter ego.
And I remember right before I performed, I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me. And I remember right before I performed, I raised my hands up, and it was kind of the first time I felt something else come into me.
Felt something else come into me. I felt something else come into me.
Okay? So you'll get all the lavish things that appear to be okay, that appear to make you some great individual, but it comes with a package, folks. You can't get one without the other. You can't get all the adulation, all the admiration, all the attention without those two. Read it.
And work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst, and cause offenses.
They cause offenses. So when Christ says in Matthew 24 that we shall offend one another, you shall give each other up because you are offended. Many shall be offended and go to the magistrates and give up their own brothers and sisters for death, up to death. Who's causing those offenses? These spirits they made an agreement with. And I'm looking at the battle that we're dealing with as a people. The hatred, the fighting internally, where we can't even stand each other anymore. And none of us have stopped to look at this and say, you know what? This is not us. I love my family. I love my children. I love my husband. I love my wife. Why am I feeling like this? We need to just sit back and look at this and say, you know what? You know this is not us. But this is what we've made an agreement with. And like I said earlier, the payment is too much to bear at the end of this. Because we suffer all this in our life and then have to deal with something worse than this afterlife. It's not worth it. Read on.
Verse 12. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. Chapter 16, verse 1. From the days of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants. From the souls of whose flesh the spirits, having gone forth, shall destroy without incurring judgment.
They will destroy without incurring judgment. That means the Most High will allow them to destroy throughout all generations. These demons, the children of Nephilim, will continue.
Syrian Aramaic. How clever.
Jesus.
Honey, is this something?
True what I said, though. I do know who you are. It's Hazel.
Where'd you get that? From Milano's place? You found something up there. Well, some things, pal, you shouldn't know.
Like what? Like what?
And if you know, you should never ever tell.
Beware my wrath.
To harm us. Read.
Thus shall they destroy until the day of the consummation, the great judgment in which the age shall be consummated over the watchers and the godless.
Now I'm going to show you just an example of what we have seen within our family, right? As a nation. And I'm going to just use one example. Right? You can have, as a matter of fact, let me do this. I'm not even going to say us. Let me just say a hypothetical, so that no one can claim that we're blaming this, whether it be a black family, white family, Chinese family. Let's do a hypothetical. Okay. You have a family. A man meets a woman. Fall in love with this woman. He's like, man, I can't do without this woman. He's spiritual, she's spiritual. They're both going to church together. Right? They both want the kingdom of heaven. They both want a righteous family. They want their children to have the same love one amongst each other that they have for each other. The family prays together. The family eats together. The family talks about the love of the Most High together. Right? That's an agreement. But something happens. The man sees someone he used to see or know on Facebook or on a social network. Begin to chat with this person. End up sleeping carnally with this person. And make a new agreement. Broke the agreement that was there. That was towards the kingdom of heaven. Now, the demon wins. Satan wins. The woman who gave all she had for this relationship, telling everyone how great this relationship was, now they have to deal with that shame. Okay? The family, the mother and father of the woman, love this man and have to deal with the pain of her. She becomes bitter and angry with no answers anywhere. And she goes out and go deal with someone else and make an agreement with Satan. And the children are sitting there looking at both of them in the agreement of Satan, being too young to discern right from wrong, looking at these two different agreements and saying, you know what? This agreement with Satan is normal. Now the children makes an agreement with Satan, with death and hell. Then it becomes generational, and then it becomes normal. So, that's just one example. I can go on and on and on and on and on. But again, We're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to open it up like I said I would in the midst of the conversation I'm having with you in agreement with hell. And then we're going to go into what hell is. And at the end of it, how we can make this agreement with the Most High again. Okay. What we need to do to engage the Most High on a daily basis. Okay. How we can have him in our lives in certain instances before making another agreement on the outside, because there's only two masters, folks. Either we're serving the Most High or serving Satan. If we believe anything else, we're lying to ourselves. That's that lie and covering we've made for ourselves. That I'm just a good person. Okay, that's one of the biggest cockamamie excuses you hear. Well, you don't have to believe in God or believe in the book. You can just be a good person. Well, you don't have the information on how to be a good person. What are you talking about? What are the standards you're going by? You can make your own standards on what you believe a good person is. So that's one of the biggest lies out there. You're not a good person if you're not serving the one who made you. You are a very bad person.
And when she gets there, she might call it the love. But her loving and her kindness and her generosity brings her, if it brings her to the same point that it brings you.
Let me open it up real quick. We're at the top of the hour. All right, I got the chat open. Before we go into the next part, I just wanted to emphasize and go and begin to preference this first with the agreement between death and hell. Is there something you don't understand? Do you understand what's going on here? If you have a question, anything, a comment, right now, we're going to open it up for the first 2 minutes, then we're jumping right back in. Take 3 or 4 minutes and then jump right back in. Something we've never done before here. The chat is open. King MJ says, thanks, Elder. Nice lesson so far. Born again, Sirach 3:24 relates to, okay. Sister Shanice, please pray for us, Elder. We love y'all. Yam Kadash, is obesity and weight gain a demon? Yes, it is. It's also, you know, it's not to blame a person. It's to bind a person, because usually a person who becomes obese deal with all levels of what you would call prisons for themselves. They become insecure. It changes everything for them as far as relationships and everything. It's a demon to attack them, to stop them from living the life the Most High intended for them. And it's a learned behavior. But yes, overall, obesity is a demon, because it shows undiscipline. You should know when it's time for you. You shouldn't eat to the point where it overcomes your being. But that's a whole nother conversation. I'm going to keep this within the parameters of the lesson. Lantriel, Shalom, elders. I am in a process of joining the military. I've been told it's against God, but I got the urge to join. I've prayed on it. Well, there's nowhere in the Bible that says joining the military is against the laws of God. Okay? Now, if you were to ask someone advice on it, they can only give you the advice, you know, they can give you their opinion. But at the end of that, you have to deal with the counsel of your own heart. I wouldn't suggest anyone joining the military if you were to ask me, but I'm not going to. I don't know what the Lord is directing you there for. Maybe you can go there and help somebody. I don't know. I would have to know all the details. And still, even if I gave you the opinion after having all the details, you have to live with your decision. Okay? It's your life. It's not against the law, but I wouldn't suggest it. But who knows if the Most High driving you there, because I've seen people go into the military who's in the military who have helped people to see the truth in the military. So, that's up to you. Let's see. I'm only going to deal with questions and information that I see here pertaining to the lesson. Okay, I don't want anything to throw us off here. Okay, so the other questions we'll keep until afterwards. It says, what is the name of the mountain, Lavanna? What is the name of the mountain that the angels made the agreement on? Mount Hermon. Now, when you look at the word Caesarea Philippi, Philippi, Caesarea, that's in, it's Caesarea Philippi, right? Mm-hmm. That's in Matthew's. That was renamed, that area was renamed on the coast after a Caesar. Okay? But that area is the border of Mount Hermon. Okay? Let me get it real quick. You at Matthew
16
let me get
verse
it. Yeah.
13.
Matthew 16 and 13. Right? When you go there and you go into the Greek language for Caesarea Philippi, right? It show you, a matter of fact, when you go into the commentary, it says, one moment here. It says, Caesarea Philippi was anciently called Paneas, from the mountain of Panium, of Hermon, at the foot of which was situated near the springs of Jordan. Okay, so this is Mount Hermon. It tells you in the book of Enoch, they came down on Mount Hermon. That's a mount in Syria right now. It's a base. This is where a lot of the spirits, the Nephilim, live in and deal with what we would call our elected high officials. Like when you have Area 51 and areas like that they claim aliens and all that. No, these are demons that are in these caverns, that are in these mounts. Well, it began at Mount Hermon. Okay? So all the technology that NASA has, that the government has, come from the mounts, come from these demons. Okay? What's next here? What is it? Okay, I have that. Okay. For Truth 135, Shalom elders, we need to, as a people, to return to our God, call upon him, reject everything been taught to us by traditional Christianity. And that's true. That's true. Let's see here. Can you do a lesson on idle talk? Sure, we can. But I'm sure it's not going to stop idle talking. All right. We have many lessons out there, but we're living in a different time. We're living in the time of the end. So all of the agreements with hell that's going on with people will be at its height in every area, not just tale-bearing and rumors, and it's going to escalate more and more and more, because that's an example of that agreement with death and hell. So we'll teach about it, but people who are like this, who love that life, they're in the agreement. So their mouths will be stopped when it's time, and we're going to show you that time in a moment. Deborah of Judah, Elder, thank you so much for this lesson. We were just talking about this. Child of the Most High 12, you are on point in alignment with my prayers to the Most High this morning. All praises be to the Most High. None. So the agreement is anything that you do wrong is making a deal with hell? Yes. Yes. Those are the things that are being recorded against you. in the heavens. How do we protect ourselves daily to combat these demons? And that's Malika Tanya. Good question, Malika. We're going to deal with that in the second part. We have one more hour. We're going to deal with that in the last hour, and those questions will be answered. Nisa says, hello, Elder. I'm 11 years old. And that's so good to hear, because this is a family, Nisa's family, obviously, who have made an agreement with heaven, with the Most High, with Christ. That's good to hear. And it lets us know that through all this darkness, there is a slither of hope. There's a remnant amongst our people who will not be overcome with the agreement between death and hell. So let's go in now. Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
I need you to go. There's a discourse of Hades that we read in the book of the Josephus, so that we can give brothers and sisters a perspective of what happens after we shed this flesh. Brothers and sisters, let me put this plainly for you. Okay, I'm going to put it plainly. Our spirits are eternal because we are made out of the essence of the Most High. Okay? The great I am that I am all exist. Guess what? He's all in all, and he gave all of us a part of him, which cannot be destroyed. We were someplace before we were born, and those same spirits go someplace after this. Okay? Let me go into it now. Now you're going to have Jehovah's Witnesses and others will tell you that hell is just a grave, that we just go into nothingness. If that's the case, then you're teaching a serious heretical doctrine concerning the resurrection. Right? Christ was resurrected. From where? He wasn't laying down in the grave and just was asleep for 3 days and woke up. So in Christ's ministry, he speaks of a resurrection of the dead. Well, where are your spirits? Where are the spirits? After death, then. Let's see. Read it.
Josephus' Discourse of Hades, paragraph 1. Now as to Hades, wherein the souls of the righteous and unrighteous are detained, it is necessary to speak of it. Hades is a place in the world not regularly finished, a subterraneous region.
Not readily finished. It's an incomplete work. Right? It's not finished like the earth is. Read. And it's a what?
A subterraneous region.
A subterranean region. Okay? So it's under our terrain.
His myth reveals how the ancient Greeks...
It's downward. Subterranean. Come on.
Wherein the light of this world does not shine, from which circumstance that in this region the light does not shine. It cannot be, but there must be in it perpetual darkness.
It's perpetual darkness. Read.
This region is allotted as a place of custody for souls.
Custody for souls. It's being held there until a judgment. So there's another chapter even after being held there. Okay? So earth is not the end of things. It's not the beginning of things, it's not the ending of things. The heavenly realm which created the earth came first. I was looking at something, matter of fact, I was up 5, 6 in the morning. I was looking at the details showing that all in the Mesopotamia area, that there's research, there's actually archaeology to prove that the gods came to create earth.
The list of Sumerian kings describes how a group of enlightened beings descended from heaven to rule the earth. It gives us the names and periods of reign of the kings of Sumer, a region that encompassed the space now occupied by southern Iraq. Compiled from several different clay tablets, the final part of the list of kings contains the names of rulers and cities historically attested. To the community of forbidden history, the first kings not tested on the list present greater interest. Who were the true gods of Eden? Also known as antediluvian rulers, scholars of the mainstream discard the existence of these lords and their impossibly long kingdoms, citing the fact that no archaeological discovery supports the unusual claims made by the stone tablets. However, the cuneiform words are there. After royalty came down from heaven, royalty was in Eridug. In Eridug, Alulim became king.
As a traveler from distant stars, escaped from a dying world looking for a way to extend his own life. His body decaying and weak, he couldn't prevent his own demise. Apparently his whole species was becoming extinct. So he traveled or searched the galaxies looking for a way to cheat death. And look here, he came to a world rich with life, where he encountered a primitive race, humans. A species which, with all his powers and knowledge, he could maintain indefinitely. He realized within a human body he had a chance for a new life. Now, he apparently found a young boy. It says, as the frightened villagers ran, night became day. Curious and without fear, he walked towards the light. Ra took him and possessed his body like some kind of a parasite looking for a host. And inhabiting this human form, he appointed himself ruler.
To give man technology. But they kept calling it aliens. So obviously, the realm of heaven came first, which created the spirits that would reside on earth. So that's where, if you want to use those terms, this is where spirits were manufactured, in the heavens first. So the earth is not the beginning or end of anything concerning life. And we have to understand this, because when we're born in this earth, we begin to make agreements, not realizing there's something else after this. Okay. The Lord, we've been made, our spirits were alive before we were born in the earth. And we live out our life, good or bad, while on earth. And then afterwards, something else. Let's read about it.
This region is allotted as a place of custody for souls, in which angels are appointed as guardians to them.
Angels are appointed as guardians to them. And we all have what you would call a guardian angel. Okay? That's appointed by the Most High over us to guide us towards the right agreement. Okay? That's their duty. After we leave here, we can actually see the other realm that cannot be seen on earth. And that's when we actually behold the angel that was ministering to us and looking to protect us all our lives. That's when we understand that we weren't alone. Once we close our eyes on this side and open our eyes up, we see the real world. That's when the real world comes into its fullness for us. Read.
Who distribute to them temporary punishments agreeable to everyone's behavior and manners.
See that? Because someone asked a question about, well, every bad decision or everything I do wrong is an agreement with hell. And the answer is yes. Everything we do right is in an agreement with the Most High. Read.
Paragraph 2. In this region there is a certain place set apart as a lake of unquenchable fire, whereunto we suppose no one has hitherto been cast, but is prepared for a day aforementioned by God, in which the one righteous sentence shall deservedly be passed upon all men, when the unjust and those that have been disobedient to God and have given honor to such idols as have been vain operations of the hands of men as to God himself, shall be adjudged to this everlasting punishment, as having been the causes of defilement, while the just shall obtain an incorruptible and never fading kingdom. These are now indeed confined in Hades, but not in the same place wherein the unjust are confined. Paragraph 3.
So it's like Christ said in Luke the 16th chapter. There's a gulf fixed between the two. The place where the souls of righteousness wait for their eternal bodies. And on the left-hand side, on the other side, is those who went through their life in an agreement with Satan, now receiving the payment. And this is what I don't understand, why so many people out there think that suicide is an option. Okay. Oh, this life, what I'm going through is too much to bear. If you kill yourself, what you are about to experience is worse than what you're going through right now. There's no cop-outs. Okay. I'm about to read it. Suicide isn't an option. When you're dealing with things that you cannot bear, and everything is confused and everything is going wrong, that's a sign for you to make an agreement with the Most High. He's not going to make it where it's comfortable in your agreement with Satan. My work, my life ain't working out. Everything I planned, that's the problem. You're talking about everything you planned didn't work out. Your plan is not the Most High's plan. And you get frustrated that that you didn't receive a life that really don't exist. There have never been an American dream. There have never been an American dream, folks. There have never been happiness within this world that they call happiness. It's always been dark and evil. But television have made us believe that we as a people can achieve the Huxtables. So you get frustrated and be like, oh, my relationship didn't work out. He did this or she did that. Let me take some pills. Let me do this. Let me hurt myself. Let me tell you, the realm you are about to enter is more than you could ever bear on earth. It's an agreement with hell. Satan is like, okay, this is what I wanted. I got another one. Kill yourself. That's what he'll tell you. Kill yourself. That's one soul I know will not make it into the bosom of Abraham. They'll be judged with me. That's how it works. Come on.
Paragraph 3. For there is one descent into this region, at whose gate we believe there stands an archangel with a host, which gate when those pass through that are conducted down by the angels appointed over their souls, or over souls, they do not go the same way, but the just are guided to the right hand and are led with hymns, sung by the angels appointed over that place.
So the righteous, a person who've made an agreement with the Most High when they passed over, they are guided into the bosom of Abraham with songs. Hymns are songs. They hear singing when they pass over. Now if you don't hear singing, problems. It's final now. Once we give up the ghost, once our spirit leaves, brothers and sisters, it's final. That's it. Now we are to be paid one way or the other for the agreement that was made while living. Here's your payment now. You hear songs like, all right, I'm good. You hear music? Oh yeah, this is nice. Read on.
To a region of light in which the just have dwelt from the beginning of the world.
Now it's like this though. There's a more lengthy process when you read in the Apocrypha with the 70 scriptures that were hidden by Esdras. Passing over into habitations, we'll call it, is a 7-day process. It's a 7-day process. Okay? Where you see what happens to the wicked and the righteous. And at the end of that, you go into habitations. But those that are on the right-hand side of the Most High, that's doing right, who have lived their life according to the law of the Most High, have treated people the way they were supposed to be treated on earth, they're going to hear hymns through the whole thing. They'll see it all, but they'll hear songs through the whole thing. They'll see what's going on with the punishment of the evil people and all that. The people who have done wickedness, people who have committed fornication without repenting, people have destroyed homes, people have just been hell on earth. They're going to see all of them over there, dealing with a judgment that's more than anyone could bear. Let me tell you, a lot of people would like to convince themselves that hell don't exist. Because why? They know based on the agreement they made here, that's where they will abide after death. So they'd rather believe, okay, hell don't exist. Because now you're not accountable, are you? You'd rather believe it don't exist than to make a proper agreement. Come on.
For there is one descent into this region, at whose gate we believe there stands an archangel with a host, which gate when those pass through that are conducted down by the angels appointed over souls, they do not go the same way. But the just are guided to the right hand and are led with hymns, sung by the angels appointed over that place, to a region of light, in which the just have dwelt from the beginning of the world, not constrained by necessity, but ever enjoying the prospect of the good things they see, and rejoice in the expectation of those new enjoyments which will be peculiar to every one of them, and esteeming those beyond what we have here, with whom there is no place of toil, no burning heat, no piercing cold, nor any briars there, but the countenance of the fathers and of the just, which they see always smiles upon them, while they wait for that rest and eternal new life in heaven.
So they're there with their family, their ancestors, who've been waiting for them on the other side, in the bosom of Abraham. You get to meet your great-great-grandfather, your great-great-grandmother. You get to you actually received by your ancestors. Okay? And I think that's what they were showing with that movie Black Panther, even though they were dealing with all type of sorcery and wickedness up in it. But the righteous meet their family who have passed over. Read.
Which is to succeed this region. This place we call the bosom of Abraham.
That place is called the bosom of Abraham. Christ spoke of that place. Now you're going to have others out there who claim that hell is metaphorical or a parable and don't exist. It's okay. They can think what they would like. But at the end of this, they're going to know how real it has always been. So again, I'm not here to convince people of the truth. Because we will all see at the end of this. Okay. The whole point of the lesson in this discussion today is that we make the right agreement. So we're not threatened by the negatives that come after death. Because once we pass over, the decision will be out of our hands. That's it. We have free will to make the right decision while living. Okay? You with me? Come on, Elder Lawyer.
Paragraph 4. But as to the unjust, they are dragged by force to the left hand.
Hold up. But the unjust are dragged by force. Now some people are going to look at this and some people out there will be like, well, hold up, man, how can they drag? Well, that's not a physical thing. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, the Most High be giving you a window into things, into the other realm while sleeping, folks. How much interaction are you doing while sleeping? Sometimes you're running, sometimes you're fighting, sometimes you're jumping, you're looking at the kids, you're looking at the children, you're playing around, but yet you're laying there asleep. And then the Most High show you something dreadful, you wake up and say, I had a nightmare. But you were in it, you were acting in it, you were walking in it, you were seeing in it. You were conscious. You were totally conscious of it. Well, brothers and sisters, that's what happens after this. Your conscience is in that realm permanently. Okay? Because when you're asleep, you're in that realm. You're living, you're talking, you're dealing with other people, you're interacting while you're sleeping. Well, what do you think happens when you are in your permanent sleep before judgment? You're stuck in that realm. That's where you are. But now, it's your reality. There's no waking up, folks. I can't explain it any better than that, or more simpler than that, than to a point where you'll be able to relate or understand it on the lowest level. That's how it can be easily explained. You don't wake up on this side. You're permanently conscious on the other side now, in a different reality. Okay? Are you following me? Come on.
But as to the unjust, they are dragged by force to the left hand by the angels allotted for punishment, no longer going with a good will, but as prisoners driven by force, to whom are sent the angels appointed over them to reproach them and threaten them with their terrible looks, and to thrust them still downwards. Now those angels that are over these souls drag them into the neighborhood of hell itself, who when they are hard by it, continually hear the noise of it, and do not stand clear of the hot vapor itself. But when they have a near view of this spectacle, as of a terrible and exceeding great prospect of fire, they are struck with a fearful expectation of a future judgment, and in effect punished thereby. And not only so, but when they see the place or choir of the fathers and of the just, even hereby are they punished. For a chaos deep and large is fixed between them, and so much that a just man that has compassion upon them cannot be admitted.
That means the righteous or someone you knew on the other side can look at your punishment. And even if that person who've made it on the right side, even if he wanted to help, he'll just look at you and you know, he'll look at you in a way in which, well, I feel for what you're doing. There's empathy there, but what can I do? This was your choice. This was your choice. So he can only look at you suffer. So on one side, they're seeing those that made the correct agreement in profound quiet with music and all that, having everything they would like until the judgment. Okay? Just imagine that. And the whole time, in their minds, it tell you in the Apocrypha, they're now even dealing with a deeper hell. Dealing with the resolve or the understanding that they could have made the same choice as the righteous. Easily. They had the same choices. So what you do in life follows you, follows us after death, folks. It's a continuum. It follows us. None of us get away with anything. Read.
Nor can one that is unjust, if he were bold enough, attempt it, pass over it.
Come on.
Paragraph 5. This is the discourse concerning Hades, wherein the souls of all men are confined until a proper season, which the Most High has determined, when he will make a resurrection of all men from the dead.
See that? So there's a resurrection for the bosom of Abraham. Christ came as that example to show us there's victory over death. So the same way we were someplace before earth, we have an opportunity to reign again after this, because what the Most High made us, the spirit he put in us, is eternal. Death is a curse. Okay? We were meant to live forever, folks. And there's an opportunity for that. It's what happens after the souls that have passed over. Some will live forever. Some will live in their proper state before the curse. And the others will be judged with the seed of Nephilim and the fallen ones who began disobedience. That's the judgment. That's what the judgment is about. The original judgment, folks, wasn't against us. It was against the fallen so-called gods who came to this earth and taught man evil. But hell have enlarged itself. We have been in agreement with these fallen gods, and therefore will suffer their punishment. Come on.
not procuring a transmigration of souls from one body to another.
So thank you. So this kills reincarnation. There's no transmigrating the spirit that died into a new person to be born on earth. Spirits come from on high. They don't come from down low. So when a child is born, the Most High is sending a spirit from the sides of the north into the woman. Spirits come from down up high, from on high. They don't ascend. They don't come from hell and go into a woman. Reincarnation don't exist, folks. That's another lie Satan has taught mankind. Because if you feel you got a few lives to burn, you'll start with this one. Okay. Well, I'm going to do everything right now, and by my third or fourth one, I'll have it together. You've been tricked. At the end of that one life you burned, you have an angel standing before you, letting you know you only had one. Okay? Then he takes you into habitations, one way or the other. Read.
Not procuring a transmigration of souls from one body to another, but raising again those very bodies which you Greeks, seeing to be dissolved, do not believe their resurrection. But learn not to disbelieve it. For while you believe that the soul is created, and yet is made immortal by God, according to the doctrine of Plato, in this in time be not incredulous, but believe that the Most High is able, when he has raised to life that body which was made a compound of the same element, to make it immortal. For it must never be said of God that he is able to do some things and unable to do others. We have therefore believed that the body will be raised again, for although it be dissolved, it is not perished, for the earth receives its remains and preserves them, while they are like seed, and are mixed among the more fruitful soil. They flourish, and what is sown indeed what is indeed sown bears grain. But at the mighty sound of God the Creator, it will sprout up and be raised to be clothed in glorious condition, though not before it has been dissolved and mixed with the earth, so that we have not rashly believed the resurrection of the body. For although it be dissolved for a time on account of the original transgression, it exists still, and is cast into the earth as into a potter's furnace, in order to be formed again, not in order to rise again such as it was before, but in a state of purity, and so as never to be destroyed any more. And to everybody shall its own soul be restored, and when it is clothed itself with that body, it will be subject to misery. It will not be subject to misery, but being itself pure, it will continue with its pure body, and rejoice with it, which with having walked righteously now in this world, and never having had it as a snare, it will receive it again with great gladness. But as for the unjust,
the people who've made an agreement with death and hell, made excuses,
they will receive their bodies not changed.
will receive their bodies not changed. So what we have, brothers and sisters, is what? Revelations, the 20th chapter, tells us about the first resurrection and the second death. So in the first resurrection, that's when the souls are regenerated into the earth as what? Heavenly vessels on earth. These are they who made the right choice. But the second death, which is the final judgment for all those who followed those fallen ones, when they're before the throne, their bodies, the way they were at death, is how they're going to be presented in decay. They will be presented, brothers and sisters, in decay. The walking dead. Okay? It tells you they don't have a glorious form before the Most High. Those that were dealing with spiritual torture all the way up until the judgment. Read.
They will receive their bodies not changed.
Not changed.
Nor free from diseases or distempers.
So if they died of diseases, those are the diseases they will have, the bodies they will have before the final judgment. With the diseases in them. Read.
Nor made glorious, but with the same disease wherein they died. And such as they were in their unbelief, the same shall they...
Hold up, brother. Hold up. I don't want to just skirt over that. That's deep in itself. You would expect to have some respite after being laid to rest. But you suffer all the pains and all that after death and more in hell for our disobedience. It ails you all the way through, and then in the final judgment, how many years that might be before your judgment. You have to wait in torture and sin the whole time until judgment, and then at the judgment you are presented in the same diseased body you died in. I mean, I don't know about you, but the other agreement is looking a lot better right now. I don't know what I can experience in life that would make me choose this over the Most High. What is it this world can give you that will allow you to say, you know what, I can, as long as I get this right now while I'm living, I don't care if this happens to me after death. What's so good in life that you, I mean, does it make any sense? Phew. But go on, other lawyer.
But with the same diseased bodies wherein they died, and such as they were in their unbelief, the same shall they be when they shall faithfully be judged.
Be judged. Now, we're at another top of the hour. We're a little bit over it now. Right? Elder lawyer, I need you to get the 7 ways for those who took the agreement with hell. The 7 ways of consciousness they go through before going into habitation. Now, mind you, when they go into hell, those who didn't listen, who made an agreement with death and hell, when they go in, then they have to deal with cohabitating with the fallen ones who become their torturers. I mean, think of the greatest nightmare or the greatest horror that you've ever thought exists. And then magnify that, multiply that by 1,000. And then keep on multiplying that. And see, and that's why the Most High states in scriptures that the fear of the Most High is the beginning of wisdom. He loves you, but it's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living God. If you choose an agreement with Satan, then you must receive all that comes with that agreement, because the Most High is bound by his word. Not that he don't love us, but that's the agreement we chose. And he's bound by his word. He says, listen, I'm going to give you everything if you make an agreement with me. Here's all the things that you will receive if you make the agreement with Satan. Okay? That's what you're going to receive. And I cannot go back on my word. Now, surely all this greatness I've given you in life and will after this, surely you're going to make an agreement with me, right? You couldn't possibly choose the other option, right? What's so good in this earth? Or what, I would say, what satisfaction can we receive in this earth that would have us choose this satisfaction and not receive rest after this? You understand? Knowing our spirits are eternal. What can you enjoy that's worth an eternity of suffering? So it's not that the Lord don't love us, because some people would ask, well, what type of God would endure suffering? See, in this, only the evil one would come up with a doctrine like that or understanding like that. The Most High never tempted a man to do evil or wickedness. So it's not him putting you in hell. It's you putting you in hell. That's your agreement. You made an agreement with hell. So don't try to bring him into this. Like he made you sin. He made you do wrong. He made you operate with hatred and variances and all. No, that's the agreement you made. Right? Come on, other lawyers. 7 ways for those who choose hell.
Yes, sir.
Did we save the other one? Oh, I kept it going.
Yeah,
right?
we kept it going.
Okay, good. Good.
2 Ezra chapter 7, verse 70.
Yes.
He answered me and said, when the Most High made the world and Adam and all who have come from him, he first prepared the judgment and the things that pertain to the judgment.
So he made the judgment and things that pertain to judgment when Adam was made, right before he made Adam. Because why? There would need be a place to hold souls. Right? So he made that first. Now it's a place, according to Josephus, that's not completely finished, but yet it was made nonetheless. Come on.
Verse 71. But now understand from your own words, for you have said that the mind grows with us. For this reason, therefore, those who live on earth shall be tormented, because though they had understanding, they committed iniquity.
They knew right from wrong and chose wrong anyway. You can't blame God for that. You can't blame the Most High for that. You can't say, well, because of my circumstances, I chose that. Because why? If you use that common sense to resolve why you're doing wrong, you could have easily chosen right. Right? Well, I'm doing wrong because this happened to me. I'm doing wrong because of them or because of that. No, you're doing wrong because it's something in your flesh that agrees with death. There's certain things you want to do fleshly to satisfy your own flesh. But yet you don't want to say that. Well, I want to sin for a moment. I want to give myself. I want to do this. I want to do that. I just want the cares of this life. I don't care what happens afterwards. Instead of being honest about it, we blame everyone else. The Most High don't see it that way. He don't see it, well, you're doing this because of the way you grew up and the way this guy here and the way this woman is there. Because at some point there's a breakthrough and where the Most High give you the information to resolve everything, to know what's right and what's wrong, regardless of how you came up, what your background is, whether or not you was in slavery, whether or not your parents did right. At some point in your life, the Most High give you full understanding of right or wrong. Mm-hmm. And at that time, you must make the right choice. And not stop making excuses. Sometimes it just comes down to your choices. But now you can use that as a cover to why you chose to be wicked. Well, I wouldn't have been wicked, but my parents did this. I wouldn't have been wicked, but he did this to me. I wouldn't have been wicked, but she did this to me. See what we getting at here? Because it's Satan who sent the forces to have these battles go on so that you can make an agreement with him. Okay? See, no one's loved you. Live for yourself. Do you right now. It's about you getting over what just happened. Do you right now. It's about you. Make an agreement with me. That's how it works. And here now check it out. Here's the deepest part of that. Satan is convincing you of this, knowing his judgment. He knows what's for him at the end of this. He said, and he's telling you, make an agreement with me. And he knows at the end of this is hell for him. Come on.
And though they received the commandments, they did not keep them. And though they obtained the law, they dealt unfaithfully with what they received.
So they received the law and dealt unfaithful with what they received. See? You knew right from wrong. Just like I see, let's not even talk about the Christian church anymore. Let's just bring it into us being Israel. You have people who know right from wrong, who's in this Bible, men of the Most High. Okay, who it is, they'll put all of these bonds and tell women what they need to be doing. You're wicked, you're this, you're that. And they know that they're not right with the Most High. But they'll put bonds on a woman and say, you're a wicked woman. Having women go through all these different levels of insecurities and all that. Never being good enough when they know they're not right. And she's looking at the things you're doing and saying, well, hold on, how can you teach me about the Bible? The only time we want to use scriptures is to correct someone else. Then I'm looking at being an Israelite. It's okay that if I'm not satisfied with you, I'm not willing to invest the time to make our relationships work, knowing that we all are up against hell. Let me go out and get 2 or 3 more people who have made an agreement with death and hell because they say they're Israelites, and make them wives. Now I'm dealing with all these levels of insecurity all up in my life, totally confused, because now what? You just wanted your flesh satisfied, made an agreement with sin and death, and now all the women are looking at it, what's going on? This is evil and wicked, and you with the Bible saying, no, you evil and wicked. You submit to me. when you just wanted a night out. That's all you really wanted, but the truth won't allow that. So you called it wives. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, and I know a lot of people don't like me talking about certain scenarios and all that, but it comes down to a point where we as a people eventually have to be accountable for our own actions and stop blaming everyone else. It's our agreement that we're making, even as Israelites. We're making agreements with hell, folks. So this go beyond what the white man is doing. Let me tell you, the last thing when you burn in hell is you're going to think about is the white man lied to you. And that you think you're going to be thinking about when it's time for judgment, who discovered America? Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. All that's not going to mean anything to us, folks. The Most High is looking for a change within us. We know who the liars are already. We know the history have been fabricated. It's time to get off of that. We're at the end of times, brothers and sisters. This is it. And it's only going to be an elect few who will see through all this and make it, into the bosom of Abraham. Only an elect remnant. Come on, other lawyer. Let's get through them. I digress.
Yes, sir. Verse 73. What then will they have to say in the judgment? Or how will they answer in the last times? How long the Most High has been patient with those who inhabit the world, and not for their sake, but because of the times that he has foreordained. 75. I answered and said, If I have found favor in your sight, O Lord, show this also to your servant, whether after death, as soon as every one of us yields up the soul, we shall be kept in rest until those times come when you will renew the creation, or whether we shall be tormented at once.
So Esdras is asking the question, how will it happen? Is it all at once, or is there a process in time concerning your judgment? Can you give me further insight? Is what Esdras is asking the Most High. Read.
Verse 76. He answered me and said, I will show you that also, but do not include yourself with those who have shown scorn.
He says, Esdras, don't include yourself with those who have made an agreement with death and hell. Okay. Believe it, you're not going there, but I'm going to show you what happens to them. Read.
Or number yourself among those who are tormented. 77. For ye have...
And when he says tormented, brothers and sisters, the majority of this torment is going to be in our conscience. The whole time after death, for those that are not in the bosom of Abraham, they're going to reflect on all the opportunity they had when they knew right from wrong and chose death and hell. And that still don't go into the cold regions where it's bitter cold.
Come on, it's our private deck.
I never took more than 30% from any client.
This must be the place.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, watch where you step at!
Oh, sorry.
You Anybody got a cure? No, man.
I'm not an animal. Sorry.
The hot regions where it's too hot to bear. It's not about taking off clothes and all that. And some people can say, well, hold up, the spirit don't feel. How can you feel something after death? Folks, you can put a dead carcass in a freezer and it's not going to tell you it's cold. It's the spirit that feels. That's connected to your nerves. It's your spirit that tell you when something is hot or cold. When something is piercing, or if you got cut and then your body responds to it. It's your spirit, your neural sense that's connected to your brain. It's your spirit that tell you it's hot or cold. How do you know that, folks? When your brain is cut off from your nerves, you can do whatever you want to do to your body and you won't feel it. It's your spirit that feels, folks. It's your spirit that feels. The body is just what you use to get around this earth. But all the senses is connected to your consciousness. So once your body lays down, it's your spirit that feels after this. In a different dimension. Okay? Come on.
Verse number 76. He answered and said unto me, I will show you that also, but do not include yourselves with those who have shown scorn, or number yourself amongst those who are tormented. For you have a treasure of works stored up with the Most High, but it shall not be shown to you until the last times. Now concerning death, the teaching is, when the decisive decree has gone out from the Most High that a person shall die.
So the Most High sends the decree of death. Read.
As the spirit leaves the body to return again to him who gave it. First of all, it adores the glory of the Most High.
It sees a light. That's the glory of the Most High it sees first. Read.
Verse 79. If it is one of those who have shown scorn and have not kept the way of the Most High, or have despised the law and hated those who fear the Most High.
They despise the law. I claim they hate the Bible. The Bible is tampered with. I don't want to deal with that. The Bible has become like a cross to vampires to them. Oh, it's tampered with. They could care less if it was tampered with. If that book agreed with their lifestyle, they would read it. They know that the Bible will pierce their conscience. That will give them a conscience towards the evil they're doing, so they disagree with it to continue their evil. So the Most High say there's a judgment for these people who just want to ignore the book. Read.
Such spirits shall not enter into habitations, but shall immediately wander about in torments.
They're going to wander about in torments. Read.
Always grieving and sad in 7 ways.
They're going to be always grieving and sad in 7 ways. Now they're dealing with these 7 ways all the way, brothers and sisters, until their decrepit, diseased bodies are before the Most High in the final judgment. Read.
Verse 81. The first way, because they have scorned the law of the Most High.
They have purposely broke the law of the Most High, or make an excuse now to why they're no longer following it. As if you're going to punish the Most High. Well, I'm going to get him back. I just got to go to follow nothing. Hey. You don't want to have to live with your decision. The truth is the truth regardless. His word is his word regardless. So some people believe, okay, the Most High is going to have mercy on my sin because I was a good person and somebody else did me wrong. So to answer to that is to choose Satan? To make a different agreement because of a person? Come on. And before the Most High, in judgment, it tell you that we cannot utter a word before him. So it's not as if we're going to be able to explain ourselves to why we chose death and hell. There will be no discussion in judgment. The Most High is now just going to read off the accounts. The accounts are going to come before you. Just like when you see TV and something come up and you rewind it, he's going to bring all the accounts before you, which will record it in time and space. So what are you going to be able to say? These are your actions. This was the night you were out doing this. This is who you were with. I don't have to say anything. This is you. That's you out there. That's you who chose to do this. So you're not going to be able to say anything or utter a word because your sins will be your accuser in that day. You're going to be sitting looking at your sins. And they will accuse you. So it's not like speaking to people where you did something in the dark and then the next day you can say, well, it wasn't exactly like that. Let me explain this. Let me tell you why I did that. No. You did it for your own lust and pleasure. You did it because that's what you desired to do. And while we're living, we'll never be able to overcome that in us unless we're truthful to ourselves to why we do certain things. And be able to confess that and realize that ugly part of me is what I like. This is what I enjoy. I love doing evil and wicked things. This is me. And we be trying to cover that and make an excuse when you know you just need an excuse to do what you desire and don't want to admit it. But before the Father, you will not, none of us will have not one word to say, because our sins will be before the. Now, if you are in righteousness, if you're covered under Christ, then you just go right in. There's none of that negative is actually shown at all. But if the Most High is showing you something, you didn't hear any music, and you're showing those nights that you think only you know about, it's going to be a bad case for an eternity. Not for a moment, but for eternity. Okay? Read it.
Verse 82. The second way, because they cannot now make a good repentance so that they may live.
The second way, this is another thing that's going to haunt their minds forever. There's no repenting now. You're dead. So the disagreement that you could have fixed, the fight that you had that led to you doing something, you straightening out what you did wrong with whoever you did wrong with, there's no opportunity to fix that. A matter of fact, if you did some wrong and died, the person you did wrong to is now still dealing with what came from that interaction. There's no fixing it. So that's another thing in their mind. I did all this and I can't go back. I wish I knew this was going to happen, because I would have said this or I would have did this. That's another thing that torments their conscience. Each day they're in darkness. Each day of their darkness, that's in their mind. I can't change anything. I wasted time. Come on.
83. The third way, they shall see the reward laid up for those who have trusted the covenants of the Most High.
They see that the Most High was real and true the whole time, that God did exist. And they see the rewards for those who believed on him, who trusted and walked with him. They can see it now. Read.
84. The fourth way, they shall consider the torment laid up for themselves in the last days. 85. The fifth way, they shall see how the habitations of the others are guarded by angels in profound quiet. The sixth way, they shall see how some of them will cross over into torments. The seventh way, which is worse.
And on top of that, they're saying people they know going on the right hand side of righteousness, and they see people they know who they could have helped coming to where they are. Read on.
87. The seventh way, which is worse.
Here's the seventh way that they got. This is what's on their minds, their consciousness, their conscience on the other side. Because like I've mentioned, our spirits, our conscience was created before earth, folks. The Most High didn't do no new creating of spirits after the sixth day. The seventh day he rested, no new spirits were made. Our consciousness was created before earth. Okay, we're continuing, we're walking now. And these bodies are a shell to house those spirits that were created before earth. But now, after we've lived our life, the next chapter is Hades, the bosom of Abraham, or torment. And this is the greatest nightmare of them all. The greatest torment in our own minds. In Hades. In hell. Read the last one.
The seventh way, which is worse than all the ways that have been mentioned.
This is what the unrighteous, or those that have made an agreement with Satan, will think. The greatest torment of all. in their mind is?
Because they shall utterly waste away in confusion.
They're going to be totally confused.
And consumed with shame.
With shame.
And shall wither with fear at seeing the glory of the Most High, in whose presence they sinned while they were alive.
They're going to see the glory of the Most High. And they're going to see how gracious and loving and powerful he always was and is. And wonder and confusion in their mind, how could they have been convinced to make an agreement with hell, with Satan? One that's going to be judged just like them. They're going to sit there in total confusion saying, you know what? What I did wasn't worth it. The agreements I made while I was living wasn't worth this. I denied my Creator. And I'm going to say this. When I read this and understand that life is beyond just this, I've come to a resolve that regardless of what people do, what other people do, or what they say, what they think against me, or whatever the case is, or whatever they may do to me, I look at it and myself, I'll say, you know what? Regardless of what you say or do, I'm not going to have your actions turn me from my agreement. It doesn't matter how close we may be or how much I care for you. If you do something wrong for me, just say, if you have a relationship or a marriage and someone cheat or someone do, listen, you soil yourself. That's on you. I'm not, listen, I'm hurt, but guess what? I'm not going to break my agreement and go dirty myself because you made yourself dirty. I'm sticking with my agreement. I don't see how, if someone do something wrong to me, I'm to seek vengeance by giving my body over into sin. Does that make any sense to you? You did me wrong, so I'm going to sin against the Most High. Or let someone make me so angry, or get me angry, or get me out of the spirit to the point where I may have to go do something against the laws of God because of this anger. Nah, the Most High didn't do this to me. There was a spirit you let come into you that attacked me. Okay? And then if I act on that, now the spirit have entry to me too. No, I'm going to stick with my agreement. You can say what you want against me. You can do what you want against me. But this belongs to the Most High. I'm not going to let you turn me dark. And all of us must come to the same conclusion, folks. Because we're living in a world of straight offenders. This whole earth is offenders. And you're going to be attacked. You're going to be offended. People you care about you are going to do things you would never imagine or think against you. And it's all in an effort to have you turn away from your agreement with the Most High and make an agreement with hell. It's not worth it, folks. So I see people, you ask, well, why would you do this? Well, I did this because he went out and did that. And she went out and did, like in the world, that works. But believe it or not, they cannot deal with the consequences either. But in the world, okay, he went out and cheated. Hey, watch me. I'm going to put on my party dress and go make yourself dirty in an agreement with Satan because of this guy who wanted to be dirty. No, we take the higher ground. We're not going to turn dark because darkness entered. Okay? Through another person. That's what Satan would like. And like I've mentioned in what I'm reading here, this judgment is more than any of us can bear. Anything else, Elder Lawyer, before I go into what's next?
Yes, sir.
Go on.
And shall wither at the fear, seeing the glory of the Most High, in whose presence they sinned while they were alive, and in whose presence they are to be judged in the last times.
In the last times. And then they're looking at the Most High's power and saying, how could I have not listened and agree with this loving and all-powerful God? And then they have to deal with seeing the power of that God, knowing that that same power will judge them at the end with Satan and the fallen angels who turned mankind against him. Now, some people might ask, well, how do we overcome this? How do we stay in the right place and make an agreement with the Most High and not be taken in this wicked and evil world? Good question. I'm gonna open up the lines real quick. Open up the chat in a moment. I need you to read this, Elder Warrior. Let's go to James. Where it says the confession of faults. Where are you?
James 5.
Okay, let me get there with you. All right, James 5. And let's go to let's start at the all this is good. Yeah. Let's start at the 5th verse.
James 5 and 5.
James 5 and 5. Let's read it.
Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth.
You have lived in pleasure on the earth.
And have been wanton.
And been wanton. That means getting everything you see. Let me order this. Let me get this. Let me buy this. Covetous eyes. Everything you see, you want. Read.
Ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter.
You have nourished your heart as in the days of slaughter. We've lived a life and just have indulged. That's what we've been taught to do in the world. That's what makes us happy. That agreement is with death and hell. You have to understand that we've been conditioned to receive the agreement with death and hell as happiness. That's our happiness, folks. And if we don't have all the things the world have to offer, it makes us unhappy, depressed. Something is wrong with that mentality. Read.
Verse 6. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you.
Come on. That means we've done wrong, and the Most High still receives us. Regardless. Imagine all the evil and wickedness we've done against the Most High in secret, that we think is in secret. He still accepts us. Read.
Verse 7. Be patient therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Be ye also patient.
Be ye also patient. Okay, a lot of us are looking for answers and resolve or blessings or the life we wanted overnight. In this truth, in serving the Lord is going to give you what you need on a daily basis. Food, shelter, and raiment, and with that be therewith content. And I'm going to tell you another thing. We have to be content in the Most High and not feel that we're incomplete if we haven't received a helpmate or a husband yet. That's another thing, just in relationships, on the relationship level. You must be content being single. Okay? For you brothers and sisters out there, because some of us become adamant into desiring, everyone wants to be with someone, but we choose people that are in the flesh, that are evil, that's going to just take us away from our agreement. Be content being single if it's not who the Most High sent. I'm going to say that. Okay? Because Adam wasn't looking for Eve. The Most High seen the work that Adam had to endure and knew what Adam work was way more than his two hands could handle, and say, you know what, I'm going to bring a helpmeet for him. The Most High chose someone for him. So if you're working and you have that relationship with the Most High and you're working towards the kingdom of heaven, he'll send that person. You don't got to be looking online and try to look all over the place for that one person. That time should be focused on your relationship with the Most High, so that when that person do come, you can discern right from wrong and not put yourself backward 10 or 15 years dealing with a boy or a girl or someone that's sinning and evil. They don't have their head straight with the Most High. So we have to be patient. Let the Lord send what's ever needed in our lives. Don't strive for something and try to make it be so. And, well, I thought it was going to be this way. I hoped it would be this way. Nah. This world is evil and wicked, and the majority of choices we choose for ourselves, believe it or not, is wrong. The majority of things we look into, we be choosing wrong, folks. We have to let the Most High send it. Be ye also patient.
Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh.
Establish your minds, for the coming of the Lord is near. And when you're standing before the Most High, brothers and sisters, you'll be alone. No one else. There's no excuses. The Most High is not going to judge any of us based on what someone else did to us. It's going to be our actions. How do we react to that? Did we stand with him through adversity? That's how he's going to judge us. Our individual actions. Read.
Verse 9. Grudge not one against another.
The Bible tells us, grudge not one against another. We can't harbor any more grudges at all. I don't care how evil or wicked that person, whatever they're doing, you must have peace in your heart, regardless of them. You can't let their negativity affect you to the point where there's some darkness in you concerning that person. Pray for the person. Don't make a grudge, and put all that on the Most High. Let him handle it. Grudge not one against another, brethren,
lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Verse 10.
And when I look at that judge, I'm looking at that in layers. Because there's a step before, there's many days before judgment. And there's unseen forces that are happening in our life every day that we ignore. I started off earlier saying, doesn't it seem like we're on autopilot? But there's something deeper than that, which is going through the actions on earth on autopilot until, same thing, mundane thing, not realizing that there's an action happening on the outside of us. There's a realm. Angels are coming in and out, guiding us and trying to have us see what we ought to do with this time we have. So when it says the judge is at the door, it's saying that, listen, the Most High is trying to speak with us. He's trying to let us know to prepare, and that we have to snap ourselves out of this comatose everyday state and connect, okay, and prepare. Read.
Verse number 10.
Yes.
Take, my brethren, the prophets who have spoken in the name of the Lord.
He says, now use the prophets as an example. Read.
for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience.
Exactly. Why did he say, look at them for an example of suffering, affliction, and how they were patient through it? Why he say, look at them? Because we are taught in this world, if you're with the Most High, there is no affliction, there is no suffering, there is no persecution, and it's a lie. So when everything is not working out right for you, what happens? You become depressed, not realizing that that's a natural thing to go through. The affliction and the oppression, but you must be patient through it, because the Most High is actually shaping you into whom He wants you to be. And He knows that there's certain things you would like in life and what you would like to be will only have you solidify your agreement with hell. There's certain things He don't want you to have. Certain people He don't want you to be with. You understand? But we take it as, I'm afflicted, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not happy. Look at what the rest of the world is doing. Look at me. Listen, you're fine. You are fine. And if you're going through persecution and affliction, we're not to be depressed and go through all that. We look at the prophets and say, you know what? They endured it. They have endured it for a great reward. So I'm going to be afflicted. I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to be attacked. All these things. I'm not going to bear no grudge. It comes with the territory. I'm going to be patient through this. And you know what? I'm never going to make an agreement with the other side. I'm going to stay in my covenant with Christ and the Most High, regardless of these demons, regardless of these people. Okay? The Most High have given me full control of my vessel. And through that power, I can allow or disallow, okay, something into my space. See? Come on.
Verse 11. Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy.
Look at that. Job had sores from head to toe. And there was no one on earth at this time serving the living God like Job. Every day he lived to serve the living God. And he's suffering sores. He's suffering his wife telling him, curse that God to death and die. He's suffering losing his children. And not once did he reject that agreement with the Most High, that covenant. Okay. This world would have said, but listen, man, how can you be happy? You should be depressed. You should be this. He's like, listen, I have to endure this. This is, I'm serving the living God. It's okay. He'll bring me through. And after that, what happens? His wife died. His children were all done. And the Most High gave him a brand new family. More riches than he lost before. Because he endured through. He didn't get depressed and get mad and say, I'm going to go do me. Okay. Come on.
Verse 12. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by the earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea, and your nay be nay.
And it says, not by any other oath. Why? Because we be making promises to ourselves that are in agreement with hell. Well, based on me being a nice person and doing all this, that, and the other for years, and it didn't work, you know what? I'm never going to go into that no more. I'm never going to trust no more. You're making oaths. That's damnable for you. Just because someone didn't appreciate you doesn't mean you need to change. His or her loss, folks. You're not going to make me hard. I'm not going to have no hardened heart because someone did something to me. I'm not going to make an oath that will be a guard to my happiness. What it's about to do, I'm going to become a new person. I got to do my thing now. No, you made an oath. in agreement with hell. Okay. Come on.
The rest of verse 12.
Yes.
But let your yea be yea, and let your nay be nay, lest ye fall into condemnation. Verse 13. Is any among you afflicted?
Is any among you afflicted? Are you going through things? And I'm saying this is because throughout all the churches, and I'm going to have meetings with all the elders and deacons and say, listen, especially the churches that we have in which it's our building, in which we have full autonomy over the building, where we're going to start severing out some time out of the week where brothers and sisters that are going through afflictions or whatever the case is can actually come and have prayer. Okay? They can talk about the afflictions and what they're dealing with and have prayer on it together against the forces that are out there against us. We being Israelites is more than us just going into the Sabbath and reading out of the law. Our people are being afflicted and being attacked throughout the whole week. So there should be some refuge during the week for our brothers and sisters. They can't wait till the Sabbath. So the Lord is setting us up as brethren to be there, because no one else is there for our people when they are afflicted. Read it.
Is any among you afflicted? Let him pray.
Let him pray.
Is any married? Let him sing psalms. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church, and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil.
Anointing him with oil.
In the name of the Lord.
In the name of the Lord. And guess what? That's the only remedy. Pride. People might have pride in themselves. They may have too much pride to talk about it, or feel they'll be ashamed to talk about it. But in that dark area, not being able to talk about it or have it preyed upon, this is where Satan will continue to reign in your heart and guide you towards his agreement. Okay, that's part of it. Part of Satan's work is to have you quiet while he's working in you, while he's destroying you internally, and you know things are not right, but you don't want to say anything. So the Lord is letting us know how to make an agreement with him. We must admit what's in us, what's going on with us, and pray about it together. That's the answer, folks. Read. You cannot beat the devil alone. So all that, it's about me, I'm going to do me, I did it the other way. Let me tell you, either way, you're not alone. You're with him. Come on.
Verse 15. And the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise them up, and if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him.
Come on.
Verse 16. Confess your faults one to another.
Let me tell you, be honest. Not blaming others. Be honest with the sin that's within us. Within your own person, outside of everyone else. Be honest with it. And it's not, well, I'm this way because of this. That's an excuse. Whatever happened doesn't change. You're that way. That's you now. Don't make an excuse for it if you want to be healed from it. See? Come on.
Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another.
And pray one for another. And this is what I have to make sure is instilled in my household and all of you. We deal with everything on every day on autopilot, right? And sometimes forget prayer. That's your connection time. We're from the heavens. So a few minutes out of a day in the morning to go into the bathroom to yourself and just talk to the Most High and ask him to remain, to guide you, to help you make sense of things, so that when a choice is before you, you choose him. And I learned if you pray at least 3 times a day, even to yourself, go in the closet to yourself, people don't got to know about it. It keeps you temperate. It keeps you on the path. But when you stop talking with the Most High, then that begins that regression. So pray. Because the majority of the confusion we're going through, man can't make sense of anyway. It's the Most High who will give us resolve in our minds. It might not be instant, but we'll pray to him, and then you may go to sleep and wake up next day you got an answer to it. That's because you're in continual conversation in connection with him. Well, the closer we get to the end, the more prayer is needed. Okay? And it's okay. It's okay to go into your closet to yourself, go into a room or the bathroom and get on your knees and just pray to the Most High. That doesn't cost anything. No, nothing. There's going to be some of the best time invested with your agreement with the Most High. See? Come on.
That ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much.
Yeah.
Verse 17. Elias was a man subject to like passions as we are.
So Elias had like passions like everyone else. You think the prophets didn't like women and all the cares of what this earth gives? They were men. Read.
And he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months.
But he was so dedicated to the work of God that the heavens listened when he prayed. So why do you think it is mentioned in James like this? That Elias had some of the same desires and passions we all have. Okay? It's mentioned because it's saying, well, regardless of the faults or the desires that's in you that came with the sin of Adam, if you are consistent in your connection with the Most High, the heavens will minister unto you. Your prayers will be answered because you are in constant connection with him. You are in agreement with him. See? You have that power. And Satan and this world would make you believe we're powerless. And we're not. The God who created everything is our Father, folks. The God of the gods the Gentiles worship is our God. Check that out. Nothing is impossible for us, brothers and sisters. We're downplaying our power by making an agreement with a lesser, dirty God who will be judged. He's not worth it, and hell is not worth it. Connect. When the desires come on, and when temptation is before you, make the right choice. That's Satan that have someone text you, or have someone call you, or have someone. That's Satan. These are tests. And it's a shame. I'm looking at this generation right now. You can only pray for this generation, because all the temptations that's afforded for them, that's available for them right now, we didn't have to worry about. They in full agreement with hell. This generation is done. Read.
Verse 18. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth,
if you err from the truth,
and one convert him,
let
him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins.
So it's about saving souls, giving them the option for the true agreement with the Most High. Which master will you serve? Who have you made an agreement with? I say serve the living power. And stand on the rock that was sent, Yeshua, his son. Okay? Follow that light towards the kingdom of heaven. And don't choose death or hell because someone wronged you. Repent. Why? Because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And it's only for a few. Will it be you? With that, I'm going to make a few announcements, and then we'll answer a few questions and go back to a regular lesson. Another lesson next week. But this lesson was in my heart to teach today, and I pray that it fall on those who need it. Shalom.
Shalom.
I want to put this out there real quick. Right now I'm planning my trips to the other states we've yet to come to. And I'll be dealing with Florida and Texas and a lot of other areas. I'm looking at Pittsburgh, a lot of other areas in the immediate future. With that, I'm going to say that, brothers and sisters, we do receive donations, okay, and help towards the work. This is how, unfortunately, plane trips and all these things are not free. And there's a lot of work to be done. We have to set up churches in areas there's no church, and we have to deal with future migration situations so that the work can continue to grow beyond Babylon. With that, if you would like to donate, you can send an email to gatheringas1@aol.com. Okay, you can also go to historytimes.org. Okay, now before you go to historytimes.org, I would rather you go, because that's strictly the academy and you still have a chance to get into that. So if you want to be a part of the academy, we're going into breaking down tomorrow. We'll be breaking down all the inconsistencies with Christian doctrine. We're going to deal with their doctrine, what they're teaching, the Babylonian doctrine, and show you what's correct in what they're teaching and what's incorrect in their teachings in Christianity. So we're going to go there tomorrow. And you can be involved in that. You can go to historytimes.org and enroll. We'll send you the weeks prior, the weeks missed, and you can be caught up because we still got about 2 months to go. All right. Now, I would rather you go to, if you want to send a donation to the church, go to gatheringofchrist.org, and you can hit the tab where it says donate, and it'll tell you, it'll give you all the options to help us finish the work. Okay, and that's what it's about. We wish we could travel strictly off of spirit and set up churches and all that, but unfortunately there's finances involved, and hopefully you can help us with that, and believe, and we'll only use it towards the work. It's about building the work and making sure our people have some spiritual refuge in this time, especially for areas that churches haven't been established yet in certain areas. You want the church established in your area? Well, this is where it begins. Okay, I don't want to put that out there. All right. Let me open up the chat for Q&As. The chat is open.
Want me to?
Yeah.
This is Sister.
Yeah.
This is Sister Shanice. What if?
Is the pause off? Take the pause off. Okay.
Turn it up.
Yeah, it's on. Okay, that's good.
Okay. It says.
Let's do this one here. Right here, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What if you've been baptized but mess up? Can you come back and do? And what do you do to come back?
Well, the only sin that cannot be forgiven in this world or the world to come is the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. Okay? So, if you fall victim to sin, okay, there is a way back. But each time we sin, it's a harder path back. It's just harder because we've taken on more demons, more spirits. But yes, there is a way back. The Bible tells you usually you have to gather with the congregation and begin works and charitable works within the body of Christ, because charity covers a multitude of sins. And when people say charity, automatically one believe it's money. Charity is covered in many areas outside of money. Okay, it's loving your neighbor as you love yourself, treating everyone right, repenting from the sin, going off from that sin and sin no more concerning that action, and do your works from that day forward for the kingdom of heaven sin free. So charity covers a multitude of sins. So get amongst the body, learn amongst the body, you understand, and begin some works within the church. Confess the sin and have and pray that sin never creep up again. You pray that that you'll overcome that flesh that allowed that sin to come in. But again, you cannot do this alone. But the answer is yes, that sin can be forgiven. You have something, other lawyer?
No, sir.
The Most High sees. What's next?
The Most High sees. Why is the hidden 70 of Esdras in the NRSV Bible that was published in 1989 by the National Council of Churches and not translated in the KJV? Seems like to be questionable to be authentic. How is it justifiable?
Well, wisdom is known of her children. I'm going to put that out there. Okay? Okay, just say hypothetically the 7 is a total fabrication. Do you want to chance that? You want to chance not making the right choices and dealing what's in it after death? I'm going to go there first. And that's why Christ said wisdom is known of her children. Usually a question of authenticity usually comes into a point where we can claim it's not credible. Therefore, if it's not credible, I can take it with a grain of salt. Well, by that same token, we can use that train of thought on everyone who claimed that the Bible isn't authentic. See where we're going at here? I know that the 70 are true, because it told us in Esdras, in the Apocrypha, which was a part of the King James Version, that the 70 would be hidden. It don't have nothing to do with the churches and others who allowed it to come in later. It has everything to do with the Bible telling us that it was there. And that was in the King James Version. Let's read it. Yeah, about the 70. We're going to 2nd Esdras 7. It was in the King James Version Bible. The Bible told us it was there, but hidden. It was these publications that later felt a need to publish them. Okay? Now I preferenced it a certain way in the beginning for a reason. That I don't care if someone believes it's authentic or not. Okay? I could care less. Every person has to search out their own soul salvation with fear and trembling. Okay? I know it's real. I don't need to be convinced. Okay? It's real. Now, what I'll do is I'll read the scripture, the verses here. I'll read it for you. Right? But it's up to you to believe whether or not it's true. And that's for each individual. But I know it's real. Let's read it.
This is 2 Ezra chapter 14, verse number 44.
Yeah.
In 40 days they wrote 204 books. And it came to pass when the 40 days were fulfilled that the highest spake, saying, the first that thou hast written, publish openly.
He says publish openly. So there's information that will be published openly. That's the information that we find in the King James Version 1611. Read.
That the worthy and unworthy may read it.
So this is published for everyone. Read.
46. But keep the 70 last.
But keep the 70 last.
That thou mayest deliver them only to such as be wise among the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the stream of knowledge.
So eventually, in prophecy, the 70 would be revealed last. So it wasn't in the original publications. It came later, like the Most High said it would. Okay? What's next?
If I can add also, just one quick point.
Yeah.
Like, just from a historical point of view, you have to realize that, for example, when the KJV was first translated, other records like the Dead Sea Scrolls were not yet discovered. So a lot of that information is not the same way this is not.
Yeah, if you want to look at it from a historical standpoint, when they first gathered the information with the 70 scholars, that information wasn't founded until after certain information started to crop up, like the information in the Qumran caves. Okay, and with that information now they can publish. They're like, hold up, this is the 70 that was missing. That's a great point too. But all in all, wisdom is known of her children. And I'm careful when things are put out, when it says, well, in the NRSV, when there's books outside the NRSV that has it. Here's a Cambridge annotated apocrypha with it from Cambridge University. So I don't want people to look at that the new translations and revised versions, knowing that there's incorrect translations, so to speak, in something that says new, and relate the 70 to what publication that's publishing it. Okay? Let me make it clear. Was written in that NRSV or the annotated apocrypha, the Oxford, is in the Cambridge. These are just publishers. But the scrolls that were found are true. Okay? What's next?
Next we have Brother Salaz. Do demons manifest ugly only by outward appearance of our body? Or can we have tattoo, or can we have no tattoos, etc.? Have appearance of good-looking demons that do not show themselves outwardly.
Do demons manifest ugly only by outward appearance? Well, no. I was just showing you an example of, something that can't be hid. You can know immediately just looking on the outward whether or not someone has demons. When you see someone tatted all from head to toe, you don't have to ask a question about that, because the Bible makes it clear what that is. Okay, the thoughts that came to their mind to have them paint their bodies like that were demons, and that was throughout all of history. Okay, for those who sacrificed children and did all those things, they would mark their bodies to the gods. They got these thoughts from demons. So that's the example I gave. That's not the only example. I just gave an example of someone noticing on the outward part, someone that's dealing with spirits or demons. Okay? A person that dresses or not modestly all the time and want to show their bodies and all that, for sin. You don't have to have a conversation and no demons are there. Okay. But yes, there's scenarios in which you don't know the demons are there until you actually have conversations with people. And what comes out of them, like they can be pretty, or a woman could perceive a man as handsome, or whatever the case is. But when you begin to talk to people, you can see, okay, there's deeply rooted problems that have cleaved to this person that he think is him or her. Right? What's next?
Child of the Most High, how do you know when the Most High has blessed you with your husband or other things you need on a daily basis? How do you decipher from it where it came from? Can Satan send blessings too?
Well, that's really that's an open-ended question that can be answered in so many different ways. Like, how do you know if someone is sent by the Most High? And you're asking someone who don't have a window into your relationship to be able to answer that. Because I don't know what's going on in your house. Number one, there's no such thing as a relationship that don't have disagreements.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of help on either side. Disagreements is not a sign of a bad relationship. You have two different opinions on certain situations, and sometimes if one side see the other, walking down a path that could affect the whole family negatively, you're going to have variance. That doesn't mean because there's disagreement in the house that the Most High is not behind that relationship. If you got one of the other parties sinning against the Most High in your house, whoever's sinning is not sent by the Most High. That's cut and dry. I'm not going to use the example of disagreements because there's disagreements in every relationship. But sin is the parameter. That's what, if you got a guy that's smoking weed all day, and I'm not in this thing to trying to justify whether or not weed and illegal substances are good or bad anymore. It's utterly ridiculous to argue the point for marijuana. For someone to argue a point of, here's the goodness of marijuana. Well, what's the negatives of it? Not caring about anything, okay? Lazy, wickedness in every area of your life outside of it, and not relating your wickedness to your behavior, your addiction. If someone is smoking weed, I don't care if they're reading the Bible all day long. If you're dealing with drugs, if you're in a relationship with somebody that's smoking weed, then that person is a child of the devil. Sin tell you who's your father. If you are sinning, your father is Satan. Period. Right? The other part of the question is, how you decipher from, where it is here.
How do you
can sin bless? Can Satan send blessings too? Good question. It's how you interpret blessing. Okay. What do you call a blessing? A house? A car? Right? So if you're asking, can Satan give you substance and reward you with money and finances and have it where it appears you have a blessed life? The answer is absolutely yes. He took Christ on a pinnacle of a mount and showed him all the riches of the world and said he can have these if he bow down to it. So it depends on what you interpret as blessings. Riches, power, a nice car, a nice house, money. Yeah, Satan can give you that, but I wouldn't call that a blessing.
For truth.
Because the greatest blessing, which is above all, cannot be purchased. Wisdom. Because with wisdom, you will find ways of getting what you need through the wisdom of the Most High. He will direct you and have you get certain things in life to do His will without you compromising. See? That's what wisdom does. It allows you to take advantage of the things in the world without being of the world. Now that's a blessing. What's next?
For Truth 9135, Shalom Elders. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to interact in the sermon today. It really gave me a sense of truly being amongst the brethren in a physical setting. Hopefully the Most High will establish a church in Brunswick, Georgia. Every once in a while, I would go out and speak to our peoples concerning who we are, how we came into the conditions we are in, and who our God is and why we need to return to Him and keep the commandments He gave us by the hand of our brother Moses. Thanks for the needed sermon in these last days. You brother in Christ Yeshua, Mr. Darrington, Elder Lawyer. I mistakenly erased the hotline number for the Bible classes on Friday night. Will you please send it to me yes,
yeah.
We'll send it to you.
Well, I deleted your comment because I don't want your email out there. But yeah, Mr. Darrington, I have your email. Elder Lawyer will send you the information you request. All right, I'll answer 2 more questions, then wish you all Godspeed and may you have a blessed Sabbath.
Sister Panana. Elders, is it safe to say that a person have a demon on them if they're reaching to find someone wrong about or find something wrong about you when you've done them no harm, claiming that they recognize demons? Example, if a person says, it's just something about this person I just don't like. Please advise on this.
Well, if they say there's something about this person they don't like and the person did nothing to them, okay, that's an evil suspicion. Okay, that's the scriptures call that an evil suspicion. Mm-hmm. And that is a demon. That's a demon. Now, mind you, there's a difference between an evil suspicion and someone having intuition, or not intuition, but some level of discernment, or sometimes you didn't feel right about a certain scenario concerning a person, right? And then it proved to be right. That means your senses are in tune to be able to discern right or wrong in certain instances because you are linked with the Most High and dealing with His law. You know what's right or wrong, and when that vibration is around you, you can sense it. Now that's a difference than an evil suspicion, because if I can sense something that's in a person that's right or wrong, I'm not going to now and then speak to a person and go to a lawyer and say, yeah, man, yeah, it's some evil I'm sensing on this guy. Or there's evil. That's something that's for me to utilize in protection of my being. It's not for me to make an evil suspicion on this brother or sister. It's the Lord telling me to be careful with this person. Not to spread something against this brother or sister, or to have something negative being pointed to this person because I view them a certain type of way. No, the Lord is giving my senses together and say, okay, I got to keep my eye on this guy, but that's for me.
Right, it's for your discernment.
For my discernment, exactly. There's a difference in the two. I hate that when someone be claiming, I got the gift to discern and I can feel a demon on it. Nah, I'm looking at the demon. Who do you think you are? The Most High them gave me the power. I can look in, I've seen stuff. I'm like, yeah, because you was one of the guys that was before the flood, right?
Mm-hmm. This is from Focus.
Yes.
What happens to those who die who never heard the truth?
There's no such thing as a person who die and never hears the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because why? We all are born and cultivates as we grow a conscience. I don't need to read the Bible to know sleeping with someone else's wife is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right? So, right and wrong is in our conscience, regardless of whether or not we've read the book or have followed what people believe is truth. You violated your conscience. You knew what was right or wrong. And you did what was wrong. And that's why I tell you in the book of Romans, when the Gentiles do in the law do to themselves what is contained in the law, it become a law unto themselves. Their conscience steadily accusing or excusing them. So if they do if they do right in the law and they never received it, shouldn't that law be counted as just?
Mm-hmm.
They never read the Bible, but they still chose to do right. So the Lord is now looking at that as, I didn't even have to tell them, and they're doing what's right. So now I can chalk that up as the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're following the law. It doesn't matter how they got it. They're doing it. They're listening to their conscience. See? They're listening to their conscience when it comes to right. Okay? So there's no such thing as a person who never received the truth. Every generation have received the truth. Every person have come in contact with the truth.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Sequoia, Aquarius, and Kokwe. Salaki, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
Shalom, Elder. This is Sequoia. I forgot to say my age is 12. And noun, next to me is my brother, Aquarius, age 14. And my older brother, Kokwe, he is 16.
Great.
I wanted to say I enjoyed the lesson, and my mom, Alois, wanted to ask if you can come to Tulsa, Oklahoma, so we can get baptized.
Yes, I'll come to Oklahoma soon. Just keep your ear to the ground, and when I'm in your area, send an email, Sequoia, Aquarius, and Sequoia. Send an email. Let me know that you sent this message, and when I'm in your surrounding areas, I'm going to contact you, and yes, I'll be happy to help you with baptism. What's next?
Daughter of Ahia, 20. Shalom, elders. In Revelations 9 and 6, it talks about how men shall look for death, but they shall not be able to find it, and that they will long to die, but death shall flee them. In 1 Corinthians 15, 51 through 55, Paul talks about the righteous being changed to their incorruptible bodies. My question is then, will the transformation of the righteous to the incorruptible bodies happen before the punishments on the earth occurs?
Okay, I just because it says that in Revelations doesn't mean it's chronologically in order. Okay, if you understand. You have to realize that when it talks about in Revelations, men are going to be looking for death, and death is going to flee them, or they're not going to be able to die. It's speaking of them living with a lower quality of life, with sicknesses and death and all that, and still living and being hacked upon and utilized by the pharmaceutical system. They're not really living. They're really walking dead. They don't have no quality of life, but they just living like people that we see today. Okay? That's before Christ comes. The last trump is when the incorruptible bodies will become... the corruptible bodies will become incorruptible. That's the last trump. Okay? You have to realize those that are living with diseases and are longing for death but cannot able to die right now, who wish they were dead, that's well before the last trump. Okay?
Last question, Truth Seeker 7. Shalom for this great lesson. Elders, will you be coming to Wisconsin? Desperately need a local body. The water and many blessings.
Well, I know I'll be coming. I'm setting up to come to Minnesota soon. So, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm going to be setting up a church there soon. So, I would say, you know, I can't say for sure when we'll be in Wisconsin. Okay, I'll pray on it if the Lord open it up. A matter of fact, you send an email, and what happens is if you have a number of people that you know want to receive the understanding, then I'll come there, or I'll send elders there, or come there to begin a body, a gathering in that specific area. So just send us an email, Truth Seeker, and usually our churches begin there. Send us an email, I'll talk to you, and we'll work it out together. Send an email to gatheringus1@AOL.com. With that, that concludes our lesson for today. We'll pray out and wish you all Godspeed, and I hope you all will take heed to the Sabbath lesson today and make an agreement and a covenant with the Most High. Shalom.
Your commands, we were lost.